Hey, everybody, welcome to Movies Worth Talking About, where we talk and talk and talk about movies. I'm John Carlos, and today I am joined by,
BJ.
and we are going to talk about, I think it's safe to say it's still underrated.
I think it's underrated for sure. I don't know anybody that goes, "Oh yeah, that's a great movie," other than purists and people like you and
Yeah.
me.
The
Yeah, I don't know. It's
underrated 1996 film, The Phantom, which
yay.
exactly fucking yay.
That's so you should just dub applause. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm not that fancy.
Damn it.
um, a movie that was I don't want to say like a big part of my life, but I mean that came out in like I think the summer of '96, and that stupid billboard and poster was
Oh,
every that movie did not do well, but that fucking fist in the ring and
yeah.
the worst catchphrase to slam
Slam evil.
till the day I die, I'll be like, do you remember that poster? It just said "slam evil."
Just the worst.
The
Yeah.
worst. You have a movie that feels very retro, old fashioned adventure yarn. And then this marketing team was like, it's a purple guy in tights. What do we do? I don't know. Half the poster be his fist. And what do the
It was like
kids
this
say?
close too. It's like
Yeah.
it's like Mask.
He fights bad guys, right? So slam
Slam
evil.
evil.
Slam evil.
It's so bad. Well, what's funny? What's really great about that is that the promo, not the posters, because I remember they were terrible, but the trailer. I remember when I saw the trailer in theaters, and it had like a Rocketeer 1940s. It looked like a gangster movie in the beginning, and it was like where evil lurks and all this type of
Oh,
stuff. And yeah,
the
it was
first
really
half of the
cool.
trailer was just bad guys.
Yeah, it was great. I love that. I love that trailer. That was a great trailer. But the Slam Evil posters were terrible.
Oh, and the thing about the trailer that I don't want to say disappointed me, but there's a shot in the trailer that's not in the movie, but it's because when you see him on his throne, it's all just close-ups.
Oh yeah, that
But
shot.
they have a shot of him like sitting on the throne. It's not in the movie.
That should have been the poster. If people not crazy were running the marketing team for that, the poster should have been him sitting on it and just say the
Wasn't
Phantom.
wasn't that the teaser poster?
Maybe that was. I
I
mean,
think there was a
maybe.
teaser poster that just said "The Ghost Who Walks," and it was him in the.
See, now that should have been the without a doubt should have been the entire push. Should have been the ghost that walks because I love that's a great just line. The ghost
Yeah.
who the slam evil, the ghost who walks is just Jesus. Yeah.
The the thing infamously about this movie, not to get too much into the trivia of it all, but like Batman '89, huge massive hit. And historically the studios were like, what other comic book movies can we make? I know, 1930s comic strips.
Yep. Yep.
Let's do Rocketeer. Let's
Yep.
do Dick Tracy in the
Let's do
aftermath of that, which was like 1990. And
1990 was Dick Tracy.
and then was it 91? I think 91 was Rocketeer, maybe 92.
I
But
think it
it
was the same year. I think it was 90 was
really?
Rocketeer. Yeah.
Hmm.
I measure years in Michael Jackson, and I believe that Dangerous. Oh, well, no, 1991. It could have been summer of 91 because it would have been November of 91 when Dangerous.
1991, bitch.
Okay, so yeah, so because I always think of 91 as the year Dangerous came out, but Dangerous came out November of 91. So it could have been that. Yeah, it was that summer. That's crazy.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, you're right.
So like there's something about at the executive level of all studios that are like, well, when I was a kid, the
Yeah,
comic books is like, no, 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 but Batman's a superhero, and you could do more, I don't
yeah.
know, all these other Marvel or DC characters. And even though this is a few years removed, even though it didn't make any business sense, I'm glad they did that because I fucking love Dick Tracy. I fucking love Rocketeer. I'm okay with the Shadow, and I fucking love the Phantom. So yeah,
Yeah, it's funny because I absolutely love all those movies as well, but I love The Shadow as well. And to me, in my head, and I think you and I've talked about this is early in our friendship where I was like, in my head, it's a 3 disc set. It's The Rocketeer, it's The Shadow, and it's The Phantom. And those all happen in the same universe at the same time. And one day we'll get a movie where all three of them have to team up to fight somebody in my head. Because
Mhm.
to me, stylistically and everything, I know the Shadow is a little sillier, and I know the Phantom is a little more adventure, kind of swashbuckling than the Rocketeer is. But I there's something magical in the vibe of the Phantom and how it's got pirates, it's got gangsters, it's got Betty and Veronica, and it's got Batman, and everybody is cool. And I remember also watching this movie and being thrilled by the fact that there were no visual tricks for the Phantom. Kit Walker is the only visual trick is that every shot where he's the Phantom, they shaved his head so that the rubber piece would look flat around his head. And then whenever he's Kit Walker, he has hair, but it's because they shot all of that first, and then they went and shot everything for Phantom.
Yeah. I was looking to see if it was a hairpiece, but I'm like, no, no,
It's
that's
not.
his
Yeah, they
hair.
even
Yeah.
they even pull on it. There's even
Yes.
parts, and what I and I know this is stupid, and this is before we get into plot and everything, but stupid comic book fans like me, and clearly looking behind you, um, my real thing is, and it's not that it always has to be this way, and I'm glad that in modern day they are changing the characters and we're progressing and that type of stuff, but something that the Phantom and even the Rocketeer and even the Shadow really do is, but the Phantom does it the most. When you're watching the Phantom, it is the comic book. It's the comic book on screen for real. And it's not overly silly, it's not super cheesy. It's taking itself pretty seriously. I mean, it's not a comedy and it's not a typical superhero movie. It's right in between Untouchables and I don't know, superhero movie. It's like right in there, and it's really interesting because I loved watching that. It's the guy in the suit. It's the guy physically in the suit. When he takes the mask off, it's the guy in the suit. There's no rubber. He's not padded. He looks like Kit Walker. He acts like Kit Walker. In the trailer especially, I'm like, oh my God, they cut a guy and they just put that's the purple suit, put the stupid suit on. Here you go. That's the movie. This is the world. And his suit looks rad. I mean,
His
yeah,
suit is
it's just so rad.
well,
I love his suit.
you and I, and this is the movie that we usually point to when we see characters that we like adapted where the costume becomes rubber or the costume becomes tactile armor. And we go,
Yeah.
just put the guy in tights
Just
like
put him in the
he's
suit.
drawn. And then, we say, well, no, no, the Phantom just put a guy in tights and it was
Yeah.
fucking great.
It was awesome.
I've had a million movies where Batman is in armor and he can't move his neck and just
God.
put Batman in tights.
Just put him in his
The
suit. Like
Phantom did it. And
what? Oh.
and Batman, at least you can have him coming out of shadows and you can this dude's standing on the beach in broad daylight and it
And
works.
and see, and once again, I mean, and I, this is a different movie that you and I need to do a video about. Highly underrated. One of the great things about Superman Returns is they just took the guy and they put him in a suit and then they made him fly. You know what I'm saying? Like he wears red trunks. He wears a blue unitard with S's all over it. Get on the cape. Look, he has a curl that comes in the front, and that's another thing that Superman Returns is a good parallel too. For people that just want to visually see the comic book and not silly like Schumacher style where it's overly exaggerated. You just want to see what's on the page on the screen. Kit Walker, and the only other movie I've ever seen that did this, and it was much later, was Superman Returns. Kit Walker's hair is exactly right. Oh my God, his hair it's Brandon Routh's hair as Superman is exactly right. It's super short, good looking, all handled, and then the second Kit Walker gets punched, his hair is down to here, and it's like down past his chin. Superman looking out the window says goodbye, Lois, and his manga level hair is like out to here length, but super clean and and that was the first movie that I ever saw do that. Like Michael Keaton is trying to cover up that he's losing his hair, and his hair is very modern. It's kind of like a middle-aged pompadour. Kit Walker, he's got Kit Walker's hair. He looks like a 1950s, 1940s crooner. He's the leading man of a 1930s movie. It's
Yeah.
great.
I don't demand that everything has to be like identical, but you are right.
Right.
Like
There's something magic about that.
there's little things all over this that are straight out of the comic, which I didn't read until later. But like now I appreciate like when he steps out of that cab in that long coat, fedora,
Yep.
and sunglasses. I'm like, but that's how they draw Kit
That's Kit.
exactly
That's
when
Kit
he comes
Walker.
to New York. Yeah.
Billy Zane, and the casting of Billy Zane in this.
Oh my God.
And the fact that he trained for a year just to look like that, and he
Yeah.
took it so seriously,
And I
and in his contract, no rubber suit.
Yeah, because I think at one point they were trying to do a muscle suit, and then they're like, we don't need the fucking muscle suit.
Well, I saw a making of it somewhere, and he said my intention was to get so big and so cut that when I walked in, they would go, he looks ridiculous in the suit. It's you know, it's almost a Ben Affleck Batman suit where he just looks like a
Or
cow walking
his
around in a
little
rubber outfit.
arms, his little
Yeah, a
arms.
little sad. But then he's the Phantom is so elegant. Like, dude, this guy's riding horses. This guy's jumping out of trees. This guy's running on top of taxi cabs. Oh my God. So, anyways, yeah, we should get
Yeah.
into the movie, but just watching the trailer and looking at it, and you go, that's the comic. That's exactly what I want. Not even want. It's just if somebody took a comic book, and just threw it on the big screen, the Phantom is that.
Oh,
There's some benefit to it just being exactly what it is on the page.
absolutely. Um, even at the like I love when people are willing to not look. There's a version of this where like maybe his hair is out and he's not so slick and domed. Because if you take anyone and just kind of do this to them and like get rid of the hairline that frames your head, and it's just like, no, we're gonna push your cheeks out, and you're not gonna look the sexiest you could look.
Mm-hmm.
There's a version of this where they compromise and like, well, we don't. He just wears the eye mask. He doesn't, no, but they commit to his whole head looking like the Phantom. And there are times where I'm like, man, if I was him, I wouldn't be thrilled about this.
Yeah.
But his natural face in that, like, he looks like the drawings of the Phantom.
Yeah, it's
insane.
And not only
Go
that, but
look
also
at any of the 30s strips and just look at him in that. It's like a 1-to-1.
It's really interesting. I remember being a big Robin fan, the character and stuff. I remember when I saw Schumacher's Batman Forever, which I love. I just, I'm so picky on Robin. I go, why is Robin's mask like gigantic? And why is it like 3 inches off his forehead? It's just like a massive mask. And then you see the Phantoms, and it's very, very classy and very contained. And it does a great frame around his eyes and his eyebrows. And you can, he emotes through it and everything. He's also the Phantom more of the movie than he is Kit Walker by a lot. And there's very few points where you go, well, that's not Billy Zane, that's a stunt double. There's moments where you can kind of tell, but he's just so physically and does so much of his own stuff that it's Timothy Dalton almost level where he's the character.
Yeah.
Physically, and
no, he's carrying himself around for a lot of the action scenes. But I was actually watching like the vintage by today's standards, like the making of.
Oh my, we're old.
That's full of like, the kind of EPK, like they're filming on set, like in a chair, kind of talking about how exciting the movie is. But there's a lot of great behind the scenes stuff, and they go into that. And I'll praise the stunt in a moment, but the stunt of him running across the cars.
I remember that.
But they do this quick little zoom in on the stunt double. It's going to do it, and he looks almost identical to Billy Zane. I'm like, you got the most Billy Zane looking stunt guy, like bravo.
And body wise, and that's the thing. I feel. No, go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say because the version of I just forgot her name, but Kit's love interest,
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, when she's hanging on the pontoon of the plane to jump on and then they cut to the double. You're like, that is not her. That is some complete other. But with
you can tell. Her.
But with him, they got like a clone.
I love that scene on the airplane with the airplane. Oh, it's so.
Well, okay, so here's probably my favorite thing about this movie, especially in hindsight, because I haven't watched this movie maybe in like maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, same. Well, I watched it during COVID, so probably like 3 years ago I saw it.
Nice.
I make my kid watch these movies.
Good. I would say it's aging better than I imagined.
I would agree.
Because in the age of, no offense to digital technology, but even when we're doing stunts, when it's like someone on a wire and we yank them out of a scene, it's still like a bunch of green screen. It's digital buildings. Now we have, very photorealistic looking digital doubles. It's this is fucking people hanging on a plane and they're jumping and landing on an actual horse.
And not only
This
that,
is the
but
dude running across traffic. He's running on the roofs of cars, and it's a real dude doing it.
what's funny is there's a years ago, like 4,000 years ago, you and I were talking about digital effects and stuff. And this is in the time when Batman Begins came out. So this 20 years ago. You and I talked about Batman Begins, and you were like, you know what's great about Batman Begins and what's great about Christopher Nolan is he's the type of director that shows up and the special effects team go, here's the digital model and this is how we're going to make fire look real. And this is how we're going to do this. And then Christopher Nolan goes, oh, I thought we were gonna take a guy, put him in a bat suit, set his ass on fire, and throw him out the window. And when you said that to me, I was like, yeah, yeah. Like we're forgetting movies, and what makes the Phantom very special is that the stunts in this are not in controlled environments. They're in the jungle. They're off the side of airplanes. There's a airplane, a dude on a horse. Like it's insane, and they're doing this in the jungle, and it's not. And it's funny because the special effects back then weren't good enough to make this look real. Like you look at Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the entire jungle sequence in that movie is just garbage. You might as well that's one of those things where I go, if they just cut that out of the movie, they went from the anthill to the end of the jungle, we'd be fine. It's all in the jungle action that is just awful. And it's speeding cars and stuff, and this is Spielberg or whatever. These guys put that asshole in a purple unitard, put her in some khakis, get on the horse, and jump on the damn plane as it's flying. And it's remarkably well done and remarkably realistic feeling, even though, I don't know if you could do that, but watching that, I really feel like, oh yeah, this is Phantom.
Yeah, it's funny because like the things that they do in this, it's quaint and it's a draw now. Like Tom Cruise is going to hang on the side of his plane.
Right. Oh yeah,
because
right.
Everything's digital now. But you know what the big deal is? That we do real stunts. That Christopher Nolan really does this. That Tom Cruise really does this. And granted, they shoot in IMAX too. But like, fucking 30 years ago, they all used to do it. Obviously, the big draw now but now it's a close up of Tom Cruise actually doing it, and not a wide of a stuntman doing it.
Right.
That's nitpicking aside. I'm still looking at a real dude hanging off the side of a plane, really hanging over a horse.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because now like the Bond stunts and people are, oh, when we were kids, Bond just jumped out of an airplane and then got on the back of a Jeep and went down the hill, and then the Jeep exploded and they all shot it. And nowadays it seemed like, yeah, like you said, it's like a bonus that Tom Cruise really had to do these stunts, or that a stunt double really had to do these stunts. And Jackie Chan, his entire career, nobody cared, but he was always doing that. He'd been doing that since the 70s. Excuse me. But yeah, and what's funny is that is, by today's standards, or even a lot of movie standards, that would be the definitive part, the defining element of the movie is the stunts are real. And in this, comic book accuracy is a draw. Billy Zane is a draw. Kelly, what is it? Kelly Swanson and Catherine Jones are a draw. Oh, Christy Swanson. I'm sorry, I said Kathy. Christy Swanson. Buffy. Yeah, she's just Buffy the Vampire Slayer to me.
Yeah. No problem whatsoever. Yeah. She's Ferris Bueller to me too.
Oh yeah, that's right. No problem whatsoever. Oh, Ferris, is he gonna die? Have you ever seen Alien? How's your bod? No, what's that?
The other draw for me that this is the first time I wasn't quite, a movie snob yet when this came out. But this is one of the earlier times where, as a 15-year-old that summer, I'm watching the movie and I was very aware of like the cinematography. Going, yeah. This looks good. Like my eyeballs register this is better than average.
Yeah.
That this doesn't look like, the latest Pauly Shore comedy, that there is something going on,
Yeah. It
especially and I like that there actually does feel like an intention that when he gets to New York, like all the scenes in the city look like the fucking Untouchables.
yes.
There is distinct
Yeah.
tonality between the
It,
worlds of
a
them.
la, a la, very, very similar to Superman the movie, where there's like different because dude, when they're in the jungle, they are in the jungle. When they are in New York, they are like you said in the jungle. It's like Indiana Jones. It's straight up Indiana Jones, or
Oh,
later on, I
absolutely.
guess the Mummy. But it's very opening of the Raiders of the Lost Ark. The cinematography on this looks like the first 15 minutes of Raiders. Then, I mean, which I think is even better than a lot of the cinematography in Temple of Doom. But the cinematography, the opening of Raiders is so like there. You feel like you're there, and this the scope feels you're in the jungle. You're going to get bitten by something. This bridge is going to collapse. It's very real. Also, oh yeah, and then in New York, like you said, it's very got the Untouchables vibe. It feels, like Untouchables. And then the third act, dealing with the caves and with the pirates, it feels like you're on Pirates of the Caribbean the ride.
Yeah.
Literally. It feels like you've gotten off the attraction, you're going through it because it looks like a underground cave built by pirates. It's really
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. It's very
Bes-
cinematography is crazy.
Besides the stunts, the other draw that to me that's is that all of this feels so texturally real
Mhm.
because I get not complaining. I have seen some good digital environments
Absolutely.
or partial sets that lead to digital extensions and stuff. But first of all, they filmed in Thailand, so all the jungle stuff, chef's kiss. But when you get to the city, I think they filmed in Warner Brothers Australia because
Mm.
it looks like I'm like that looks like the
Oh, the
Warner Brothers
Superman
backlot.
Returns. Yeah.
But and I've seen the Warner Brothers backlot. We don't have a street that long. Where is this? Because clearly a backlot, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Um, but here's the thing that really floored me was that sometimes they shoot inside actual buildings, like
Mhm.
the newspaper office,
Oh
just
yeah.
so rich with the
Oh
marble
my.
and the steps and all the
We
extras.
got to get into some of them B characters. You just reminded me of all the B list characters in it. Anyways, keep
Sure,
going.
we'll get to that. But besides the interiors where they use real buildings, there's also the exterior, that main street they use for New York. And at night, it's just gorgeous, filled with all these cars driving by. And then you get to the third act. I like that, like Act One, jungle. Act Two, city. Act Three, villain's lair. I
Yeah.
I am very aware that I'm on a soundstage, but it is a fantastic set.
Yeah.
And
It's the best they do.
when you first get to the steps, and then they lead to like essentially what's part of a boat or chunks of a boat. So you've got like the back end of it, but it's also leads to rock, which leads to water in between it. And I think it's all one big space. It's got that little like catwalk between the two.
Well, yeah, because I mean, there's some wide shots where they show the whole thing, and it's seen, when like you see the submarine and everything. Like, oh my
And
God.
it's got a moat with fucking sharks going through it.
Hmm.
The introduction of that whole space, like every 5 seconds, I'm like, oh, what a great set. Oh, what a great set. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Oh, look at that. And that's so much more exciting to me than like, oh, here's a bunch of people only like at a big green soundstage standing on some rock and they're on Mars. I go, oh, okay. But
Yeah.
the texture just of the finale, like the set excites me.
Well, and also and this goes along with it, because there was a moment when I was watching and I go, oh wow, that looked really good, and remarkably violent. The cannon in that last scene when they fired on that guy, because also he's a name actor, you know what I'm saying? Like for him to be in it, you're like, oh, this is a guy that's in real gangster movies. And when they fire the cannon on him and he gets hit and you see the body flip and then go into the water, it looks real. Like they chopped it together so it's both graphically violent and slightly comedic, but it's not. If you watch it and you're not in a funny mood, it doesn't come off funny. It just comes off as very like I was like, whoa.
Oh
And you
shit.
see his body go the way they chopped it together too, because you see him in
Yeah.
three different views, and you see him from the side, you see him from the front, and then you see him hit the water, and the water is the wide shot of the whole. So that's not a model, bro. Like they got a life-size model of the actor and fired him into the water, and they did it in a way that where it doesn't look like a dummy. It's pretty.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah. The sets in this are just so rich, is like the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you got freaking sharks in the moat, and you've got the submarine and all these moving pieces too. You like the back part of that ship where they have the cannon, where I don't know if the leader of the Brotherhood is there. Like all of that, Shang Tsung, all of that stuff is really very. It feels tangible. Like it feels like you're there, and like you said, it's a set, but it doesn't.
Oh,
It
but it
feels like it's a Ridley Scott level set where it just goes on for blocks in every direction.
yeah, and every once in a while I like again if it's appropriate, and I feel like in this case it is. I like when a movie reminds me like you're watching a movie.
Oh yeah,
And when I get to that set, you're just like, enjoy this adventure you're on. It's a movie. And
yeah. Well, it has the grandiose, even just the cinematography in it, the music, the vibe of it, and how much they worked on the sets and how they shot things. It has a grandiose feeling of, like you said, like a real film, like you're, well, like a Raiders, all of the Raiders of the Lost Ark is the one that I feel the most similarity to, but it's like this is the movie experience, like you people that didn't, and I know not many people did, but seeing it in the theaters was such an experience. Like I remember walking out of that theater going, "Oh my God, that was a movie," But it was made that way, and definitely I think is best because it's just like you said, the sets, the everything feels real. It's really well done. It's lots of care went into that.
can I tell you the other thing within that I never thought about until now? And maybe it's because I've done a couple of episodes already with my friend Lauren, who we talked about Top Gun Maverick, we talked about Pacific Rim. So go watch those, everybody. But
Top
she's a
Gun Maverick.
producer.
Oh,
But she's
nice.
she's a producer. And maybe it's just because I sometimes think about like I didn't ruin the movie for myself, but I allowed myself this viewing. Every once in a while, I remind myself like little things where I'm like, oh, good job. From a production standpoint, never thought about this before in my life, but I'm watching it now. And when he gets to New York, you know what my first thought was? Look at all these extras. There's a lot
Yeah.
of them.
Well, not yet,
Like
but the
that street.
cars.
And then there's like, I think I read that there's like 100 or 200 cars they use for that movie because the street's always full. They don't have like 5 cars going by. They've got like 40 cars
40,
going
yeah.
by.
Yeah.
I don't want to lower one thing to raise another,
Hmm.
but I'm reminded of Batman Returns
Hmm.
when there's always just like the same 20 extras, and like Gotham is like the most unpopulated metropolitan city.
Yeah. There's only one major street.
Yeah,
It's
they
four
have one
blocks of the city.
soundstage. Yeah, it's the same movie theater in the background every time. No, but like I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not Batman Returns. This is populated, and everyone's got period hair. They've got fedoras and
Hmm.
suits, and there's hundreds of them. And when we
Well,
go
not only that,
inside the newspaper office,
I was gonna say the same
there's
thing.
like
Yeah.
50, 60 bustling people in every
The
frame.
museum. The museum is filled with people. It's full. It's yeah.
I
It's
mean,
insane.
that all adds up, and that's money well spent on screen because I am impressed and I'm not doubting anything. I'm not going, hey, why are there only like 30 guys walking on the street right now?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
I
Manhattan, and it's supposed to be Fifth Avenue, so it would be
yeah.
bustling.
Yeah. And um yeah, because it was funny because I was watching it and there's the shot. I mean, easily my favorite sequence in the movie, and it's not because it's the best one, but it's because it to me, it's when I'm reading Batman, when I've read Phantom, when I've read Rocketeer, any of those, just classic. The elevator, dude. And his ass jumps up, does a front roll out of it, pulls his guns and puts them in his as he's rolling up, and he's running. He picks up the lady's purse, hands it back to her, runs outside, army of cars, people everywhere, and he jumps out and he gets in and goes, "Relax, I'm a friend of Kit Walker's." To me, this is exactly why I'm watching the movie. This it all leads to that sequence. And then he gets out because the cops are there and he's got to run on top of the cars, and everything feels exactly the way in my head it is. It's a like you said, it's a full-on city, and this dude in this purple unitard walks out, runs out, and is like trying to stop the bad guys. And the lady drops her purse and he picks it up and gives it to her as he's running. And it's just it's magic. It's magic without being silly. It's magic feeling practical. Like, oh, this could all happen. Everything's happening perfectly. I mean, it's clearly choreographed, but It has to be, but it doesn't look choreographed. It looks really
No.
natural and feels great. And like you said, the lobby of that building when he's running through, he bumps into a lady, says sorry, another one drops her purse, picks it up, gives it to her, and it's fully populated. All the extras, they don't look, it's like when you watch something 80s, like 80s Stranger Things or 80s Let's Get Physical music video, and and Stranger Things did such a good job of, the stupid bowl haircut I had in the 80s. That all that crap is accurate and it feels real when you're watching it when they're in the mall. It feels genuine. This feels really genuine. It feels I feel like this director probably hates the world because he looks like he put so much work into the stuff and then everybody trashed the movie mainly because I didn't watch it. But if like you said, it's a world. It feels real. It also feels like our world. It doesn't feel so bizarre and out there like a metropolis with
Yeah.
superheroes flying in the air, and it feels real.
Well, you mentioned Donner, and I never put this together, but there's little flourishes all over Superman. They're not even secondary characters; they're just random one-liner characters. But him handing her the purse to me is the equivalent of say, Jim, that's a bad outfit. Like
Yeah.
you don't need either of these in here,
No.
but it just gives you a little thing with our main character, and it also populates the world. Like,
And I think
why
that
not include stuff like that?
right. And I think that Superman the movie, which I will always count as I have not been proven wrong. It is the greatest superhero film of all time, in my opinion. Um, Not even my favorite, but it's the best one. There is literally a moment where there is a 1970s style Serpico bank robbery, and there's these real 70s police cars, and then they get on this boat, and there are machine guns, and there are drug dealers, and it all feels real. And that fool in that unitard is standing like this on the front of the boat. And when you watch the movie, you're like, even now, dude, like this, I go, oh, because it's not Zack Snyder super crazy outfits and chest armor and bat. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but you and I were the first people to talk to each other after the Dark Knight image dropped, where he's standing on, the rubble
Oh
and
yeah.
he's in the outfit. And I just remember you were like, I don't like this. What do you think? And I went, he's not gonna wear that the whole movie, is he? I'm so disappointed. And and luckily it doesn't draw my eye too much in the movie, but whenever I look at him I go, oh, I hate that outfit. It's the same with like the Batman is such a great film, and then I look at his costume and I go, ugh,
Well,
why?
something to consider though, because I remember that conversation that we had. However, there is a big difference between a simple photograph on your phone or on the internet that you're
Mhm.
looking at that's not in a scene that isn't being lit. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
the xenomorph standing in a brightly lit room versus the xenomorph on set emerging from shadows and his fucking mouth is all
Yeah,
wet.
it's a different,
Big
yeah,
difference.
for sure.
So I'll even say I didn't like the Nolan bat suit from The Dark Knight when I first saw it. But again, when I'm not just staring and nitpicking at it and I'm looking at it in a moment with score, with
Mhm.
acting, in action, in lighting, in shadow, I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit. It's doing its job and it's fine. But yeah, if you take it and put it in the middle of a museum
Right.
and hit a bunch of lights on it, I go, yeah, that's not the best bat suit.
Right.
What I love about this movie though is I don't need the shadows. It's a dude in
That's what
town.
I was gonna say. That what I love about this is,
Put him in
and
the sun.
dude, it's the middle of daytime in the jungle in a purple unitard, and you just press pause, and it's the comic book. It's his beautiful body in the correct position, saving the day on a white horse. Like, there's just something special that they just did the damn comic book, and I feel like they learned the right lesson from Superman the movie, and I feel like when it comes to costume and I love the Dark Knight and I love the Batman and those shots where he's coming out of the dark and it's shaded, and everything. It looks great. Like I said, there's just something magical that the dude just looks like the damn character, and he's wearing the damn suit, and he's just kicking ass. And I love that I can freeze frame this movie because I had to pause it a couple times for whatever reason. And there's him in the purple suit in the middle of the day on the horse, and the airplane's flying down. It's just and
Dude,
I even which there's another shot in it that I freeze framed, and it's just like it's the shadow, another shadow. It's the Phantom. Damn, I can't remember what it was, but there was a shot and you could see him in his full glory. I'm like, it's Phantom.
There's a few. Well, okay, so the first time he emerges, not like he hears the drums and lifts up his head and grabs the guns.
Yeah,
When
the
you
teaser,
see
the
that
teaser
horse,
trailer part. Yeah. Oh,
when the horse leaps over and he's just fucking on it,
it's
and he's and a little bit to there's and from what I understand, I know that he studied the books because he wanted to capture the physicality.
right.
I didn't even need to read. I read that after, but I could see it watching it because, and my first thought was, he's not just playing a character; he's like physically playing the Phantom because there's so many moments. One of my favorites is when we're at the set towards the end, and he's running up these stairs, and as he gets towards the top, he crouches and hugs the top of the stairs, so
Yeah.
he can't be seen. But it's a full body crouch, and then he like gets up and runs along the top of this roof, and then like squats. And I'm like, one, it makes sense because you don't want to be seen, but these are perfectly captured. Him on the horse and the way he kind of like leans out off the pontoon.
I remember what it was at the end. It's just like you're saying, when the asshole has the two skulls or the three skulls, and he goes like this. He goes, bah, and Phantom just leaps over a hand railing,
Oh yeah.
and it like, oh my God, it's like you can freeze frame that, and you can see him lit. You can see the shape of how he's doing the stunts. It looks like, and it's not. Because even okay, so as an example, the modern day superhero film where they did put him in the classic costume, even though it's a digital character. But in Spider-Man No Way Home, at the end when he's wearing the classic costume and he's doing all the stuff, it was beautiful and wonderful, but it's clearly not real. And they're also over exaggerating. It's got the Tobey Maguire style, he has to freeze frame in front of the Twin Towers type of nonsense, which is great in certain arenas. What I love about this is none of it is underlined. Like they make the statement, they don't underline it. Like you're watching the movie and he's doing everything right, the poses, everything, but it's not, hey, look, it's a comic book cover. And then we go, you know what I'm saying? It's not
Well,
wink,
yeah,
wink, nudge, nudge.
the
It's just
movie doesn't
what
make
it
a
is.
show of it,
Yeah.
and also he's doing it within the moment. The movie's not creating its own moment.
Right.
It's
Absolutely. Yeah.
all.
That's yeah. You say it better than I do, but yeah.
And well, also, and one of my favorite, it's not him in the suit, but this tells me everything. It's almost like a Christopher Reeve kind of moment where there so she's already is it Diana Palmer? Diana Palmer's already come back from being rescued. She's in the city. Now Kit's in the city. And his the stupid guy who's into her. He's like, "Oh, I've seen a skull
Yeah.
like that, except it was green." And Kit literally puts
Okay.
his hand.
What's that actor's name? I got to, oh, John Tenney. Jimmy Wells is his name in it.
He's great.
Jimmy Wells. He
We'll
is.
we'll come back to him. Kit puts his hands on his hips for a second,
Oh,
and he goes, "Jade, perhaps," and he like slips into Phantom. And the fact that Diana catches that, but also,
yeah.
oh, it's so perfect the way he puts his hands, and he goes, "Oh, Jade, perhaps."
It's, and you know where that's from.
It's
That is totally Adam West. Like there's such an Adam West
oh,
moment. And and that's once again, like,
put the dude
and
in tights
with
and
the
just
dude in
let him.
tights,
Yeah.
you just put the dude in the tights. And it just, yeah, because there's a physical, when you know the difference between Kit and you know the difference between the Phantom. They're different people. They stand different. They act different. It's Superman and Clark. And nowadays, because it's just a dude in a suit walking out and looking scary and buff, it doesn't matter if physically they read as a character. Like, I mean, no, once again, I hate to spite another movie for another, but in Batman Returns, you go like this, you watch and you go, oh, that's a stunt double. That's a stunt double. He walks different, he stands different, his body placement is different. This doesn't do that. It's once again, there's something magical about the actor having to physically play the character, physically play the character.
Oh, and it's a
It
perfect moment.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. It's almost Peter Pan, it's kind of a
Yes.
Robin Williams. Yeah, it's so good. So good.
He's great. I can't get over just how simple it is if you cast the right actor, put him in the damn tights.
Put him
And
in a suit.
Yeah, don't even worry. Like if the suit's right and the actor's right, you can put him on the beach in broad daylight and it'll work. But
And
also there's little things. I mean, they did do slight, like I remember at the time, we see this now where it's like we can't just have them in tights. We need to give it like basketball texture. We need to add zigzag
right.
lines. This also was like, well, we can't have them just purple tights. Let's give them a pattern. But the pattern's fucking cool.
Yeah, the pattern, because I remember going, because I remember when they were like doing Phantom, and I'm like, is he gonna wear the purple outfit? And then when I saw him, I was like, did they give him tribal? Like, and not, they're not black, they're just a darker purple, so he still looks purple from far
Yeah,
away, but it looks like it has texture, but it's a tribal print with a skull on his chest. It's like, it's
great.
so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it totally works with the character. It looks like it's intended to scare the people around. The superstitious see him and he's this purple monster covered in tattoos. It
And
totally,
it mirrors and hugs the physique,
yes,
the
absolutely.
pecs and of the shoulders. Like it
Yeah, and
complements and it
yeah,
fits.
you put the
And
dude in the suit.
and in a good way, not just like in the Man of Steel, like, well, there's these lines on my hips that point at my dick. Like, no,
Yeah,
this actually,
this belt is my belly button. Yeah, no, it's and what's funny about it is, and there's a certain side of this as well. They show off. I mean, and no offense to anybody, but it's really cool to see somebody physically look like that. He looks beautiful. His body is gorgeous in that movie, and it's not over sexualized. It's just he's the Phantom, and the Phantom looks like that because the Phantom works out so he can swing from vine to vine and stop pirates and all this stuff. So when he's doing it, I think that also attributes, like I said, to what we were talking about earlier about, you freeze frame it and you go, that's Phantom. That's the Phantom. There's no crease. You don't see where the rubber crotch piece starts. The belt doesn't, like one of my big things with a lot of the Batman costumes that the belts are so clearly just a rubber outlay that's like tight around their waist. It's not a physical belt. It's like the rubber ones you get at the store. And you go, yeah, I see how that looks kind of okay, but there's certain scenes where Clooney's belt is a little off, stuff like that. And it just really pulls me out in the fact that this guy, every shot, they didn't have to work magic because the guy's in the suit,
yeah.
and all of that attributes to it.
And you see this a lot. I mean, I'm surprised they were doing stuff like this back then. But like I have a friend of mine who used to work in makeup, but the industry has sort of shifted where so much of their skill can be applied to costuming now. Because you see so
Yeah,
many superhero like cowls, it's these eye masks, these pieces are almost like makeup prosthetic pieces. So you see a lot of companies that are very famous makeup effects companies that also handle superhero outfits now.
right.
And I remember this being kind of ahead of its time, but you see in the credits that partial costume pieces, Jim Henson Company. And we're going,
Hmm.
Jim Henson
Oh, I
Company.
didn't realize that. That's
But I
cool.
look at his belt,
Hmm.
I look at his eye mask and
The
how it
eye
looks
mask.
simple and triangular, but there is a ridge
Oh yeah,
above.
yeah. His the angry eyebrows and everything. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And I look at just the rubberness of that cowl and I'm like, yeah, I don't think Jim Henson Company did his tights. I think they did his
Yeah, the
belt,
headpiece in
his
his belt.
headpiece. Yeah.
Oh,
And
and don't leave out the badass. His boots are badass. His
mm,
boots are badass. Yeah, his
they are,
boots are badass.
but yeah, it's just every once in a while, Jim Henson Company from time to time will do some not Muppet things, and I go, that's interesting. Jim Henson Company did that, and you go, yeah, apparently Jim Henson Company did
And you
that.
know what's cool about that too? The headpiece, both of them. The purple headpiece, while it doesn't exactly match the unitard, most of the time it matches pretty well where you don't even you're not even looking at it. But on the headpiece, the tattooing, the tribal stuff is on the headpiece too. And there are close-up shots of the mask, like I mean, this close,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks excellent. And he wears the black eye makeup and everything like Batman. But this is so small and so well done. When I saw it, I went, why didn't they do that with Chris O'Donnell? Why does he have this stupid shoe on his face, you know?
I'm okay with the shoe, but I see what you mean, and I like
But
the Batman and Robin Nightwing one more. But yeah,
yeah, same.
yeah,
That well, yeah, the costuming in Batman and Robin is so good. But I wish the movie was better. But yeah, the that mask, I feel like they did that because somebody was like, why does he have a rubber glove thrown on his face? Why don't we make it look like the comics? And I'm sure they had to have looked at the Phantom for part of that because it Phantom was out before Batman and Robin. But
and like Batman Returns, when he takes the mask off in that one shot, the black eye makeup's gone.
oh, it's so good. See, it's the only difference between that. 'Cause I don't mind the black eye makeup going away because it's
It's a fucking
it's a
movie.
movie. It's a fucking movie. He's a comic book character. But my issue is really I hate Batman Returns ripping the mask. I hate that. He rips the mask. That makes no sense. But in this, and not only that, but he goes, whoop, it comes off, and the hair. And it's like, oh yeah, my hair fits in there, and I just put it in. But we know he's bald as shit under that thing. But and then when he comes back up and he goes, and she's flying away, it's so comic book. And it's not dumb. It doesn't look stupid. You know,
I
it's
can, yeah,
very
the hair thing almost never bothers me in movies. It's Catwoman and all these huge blonde curls come out. Whatever, it's fine.
yeah. It's oh no, I like that. I like all that. I like that the hair is the comic book thing. It's just Batman Returns with him ripping his mask just really pisses me off.
Right,
I
it's
don't
supposed to
mind that.
protect your face from bullets, but you can just rip it off. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's flame retardant. It's but you can just rip it because you want to kiss your half dead girlfriend, whatever. Oh, Tim Burton. We should talk about that movie, even though I love that movie more than I hate
Oh,
it.
you love it more
But
than you hate it?
absolutely, I have a
Okay.
lot more positive to say. It's just I have a lot of negative.
I love because over the course of our many years of friendship, there's I feel like 80% of the time when you talk about it, it's bad. And I
Right.
love the days where I get you where you're like, let me
Yeah.
tell you about all the things I love about Batman Returns. And I'm like,
There's a lot.
yes,
There's a
let's
lot. There's quite a bit I love about Batman
I
Returns.
love
So,
it.
however, we're talking about a better movie called The Phantom. Also, in The Phantom, you know what else I love? I mean, you talked about it a little bit. His belt. That belt. And dude, when that guy goes, I killed the Phantom once. I go, join the club. We've all killed him, you know. And I love everything surrounding the belt is really cool. I love when Phantom sees his dad's belt. But Kip sees it. It's so everywhere. It his body, his everything. Like it's, oh my God, that's my dad's belt, you mother. You know, it's just so, and the belt looks like it's leather and that it's heavy
Yeah.
and that only only the Phantom can wear that belt. Like that belt is way too big for you and too heavy for you. But when Billy Zane's wearing it, you know, it it perfectly matches his outfit. And then what's his name? James Remar, when he's wearing the belt, it looks like he shouldn't be wearing it. They did such a good job on
Oh yeah.
designing all of that. It's just
And,
so well done.
and just side tangent, I love that you brought up James Remar because I mean he's had a pretty much the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. He's always had his foot in something huge or landmark or important
Great. Yeah,
between
absolutely.
fucking Warriors and fucking was it 48 hours
One shot of aliens,
or is it Beverly Hills Cop? No, 48 hours, right?
48 hours.
48 hours. You jump to the 2000s, Sex and the City, like he's always around.
He's always
But
working.
when I look at him in a fedora in this movie, even as like the second goon to the henchman to the lead, I just look at James Remar and I'm like, you're everything about you belongs in the 30s with a fedora. Oh my
Absolutely.
god.
Yeah, he's a Cagney like looking dude. Like
Oh,
he's you know that guy that was in the beginning of Last Crusade that puts the hat on, young Indiana Jones? He feels like that guy where you're like, you know why, like when I watched Last Crusade, I was like, you know why that guy never is gonna work again? Because he can only be that character because that looks like who he really is. When I saw Last Crusade, I never saw that guy again. And I was like, that's why, because he is made for that character. That character is perfect for him, and he just looks like he's real. He looks like
mhm.
Indiana Jones is impersonating him. Um, and it's funny because I have a story regarding the Phantom and James Remar. I don't know if I've even told you this. So I was dating somebody 15 some odd years ago, 20 years ago, something like that. And she was house sitting some rich attorney's house near Paramount. And so I was over there and I was visiting her, and she was like, "Hey, I'm hungry. You want to go get something to eat?" I said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a pizza place that I saw, a block or two away. So I went to the pizza place and I walked in the back and I ordered over the phone. I walked to the back and I see this guy. It's like a very here's the cooks. Here are the cooks on this side. I'm walking through the back, and then here's tables against the wall, right? So it's a very long, it looks almost like the place in LA Confidential where the shootout happens. It's very long and hallway, and then cooks, and then tables that are against the wall. And I see this guy, um, older dude, sitting by himself, sitting over a plate of like he has his own, of like a pizza and a beer. And I'm walking doody 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 doo, doing my nonsense. And I look over and I go, "Oh my God." I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I love The Phantom." And it was James Remar. And he looked up at me and I was like, "Yo, you probably don't hear this all the time, but I love The Phantom. I think you're excellent in The Phantom. Like, I know you work all the time, but man, I love The Phantom. What a great film." And it's funny because he looked like he was going through it or something, or he was just, alone and just, "I'm here to eat pizza." And at first I could tell he was like, "Oh God, somebody recognized me." But the second I started talking about Phantom, his face just lit up and he was like, "Yeah, what a great movie to work on." And and he was just talking about and how grateful he was that somebody saw that movie and knew he was in it. And then he invited me to sit down and have a beer with him. And because I'm a moron, I said, "Oh, I gotta get dinner to my girlfriend, but man, it was so great to meet you, and I'm such a fan, and the Phantom is just one of my favorite movies." And he was like, "Oh, thank you so much." And he talks in that voice, and he shook my hand, and I left. But that I got to tell him what a great movie it was and how good he was in it.
You are a moron. Your girlfriend
I
can have
am
her
a
own pizza.
moron. Yeah, and I don't even like her. Yeah, yeah, what
Yeah,
an idiot.
I did, not to like meet you at the same story, but I once was at a place where someone that I liked was at the bar, and I shot the shit with them and we were waiting to get seated, and then they invited me to hang out with them, and then I saw that we got seated. I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go by," and I joined my group, and they're like, "Why don't you go? Why did you leave?" And I'm like, "Because we're here together." They're like,
Yeah,
"Dude, fuck us. You should have stayed over there." And I'm like, "Well, all right. I
yeah.
thought
See, that's
I put my
yeah.
friends and family first, but apparently I'm supposed to."
Wisdom with age is, hey, you guys go have a good time. I'm gonna go hang out with a famous person. Yeah,
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 yeah. Fuck me for loving you guys and wanting to
exactly.
be with you,
Same,
but yeah,
same,
yeah.
same.
Uh, I'll tell you one thing about seeing this in theaters that, uh, not to be like too, not whimsical, but like misty eyed about my past, but like I saw this with my dad in theaters.
Mm,
And my dad growing up was never like a nerd about anything, like as far as like comic books, or I mean, he was like a music nerd and all that, but like I didn't grow up and he never go, "Oh, let me tell you about my favorite Batman episode," or anything.
right.
But we went and saw the Phantom, and when God, I forget his name, Goran, his little buddy,
Oh, the kid, right?
kid, he's in like a turban.
Yeah. What's his name? Let me see if I can find him. Is it
I
no?
want to say Gollum, but it's
No,
not.
I'm not. I can't. I'm not seeing it in the cast list. But yes, his little
But
sidekick, his Johnny Quest style.
I think it's Goran.
Okay.
Uh, my dad just chuckled, and he leaned over to me and he goes, "The Phantom always had like his little assistant buddy." And my first thought was, "The fuck does my dad know about the Phantom? What?" And he was like, and I realized like he was seeing the movie of something he already knew. I still never asked him if it was because he read the comic strip or if he saw like the serial from like 1941.
Yeah.
There's like a 15 episode serialized story, but he knew the Phantom enough to be like, "Oh, I know that guy." Granted, in the movie he's younger and not like African, but they
Yeah.
adapted. But he knew enough to know that. I went, "What the fucking? That's cool. My dad actually knows something about the Phantom. That's so random."
Well, what's funny is I have not with my father or even when I saw the movie, but at an early age when I got into superheroes, probably probably like 87, 88 was when I really started really getting into them, just before Batman. And I was already a fan, but I was like getting into them. And at that point, and it's funny that you mentioned that the producers were like, "Hey, what 1920s radio superhero, dark 30s, can," and then The Mask, they're like, "We're gonna make it look like a 30s movie." Um, when I was a kid, everybody at that point, every adult was like, "Oh, well, when I was a kid, we liked this superhero." And my mom, one of my mom's friends at an early age said to me, "Oh, well, when I was a kid, I read the Phantom." And I didn't know what that was. And then I had a DC comic book, and I believe he was a DC character at the time, or they were at the time, I think. And there was this great promo, and it was the Phantom in the jungle, and he was with a horse, and there was a glass wall and a city inside of it, and he was standing outside of it. I just remember going, "Whoa, he looks cool!" And then that's when I started reading. That's when I first found out and read a comic, and learned the background of the Phantom, and it was because somebody as a kid, it's like, "Oh, well, when I was a kid, we were the Phantom," and then and when this movie came out, that always triggers that memory. I go, "Oh yeah,
I mean,
that."
I at least sort of knew of him already just because there was a cartoon like a year or two before
Oh yeah, I never watched
where he
that.
was in the
No.
future.
Oh yeah, see,
The,
they keep trying to do that. Where like
Phan-
there was even
the
a
Phantom 2040, which by the way, 2040 isn't that far from now. So
yeah. So we didn't have flying cars, guys. But yeah, no, even they tried to make a 2044 or something like that Phantom in the future, and a modern day Phantom where he has armor and
yeah,
like a
I remember that.
visor, has a gun.
It's like a
You
TV
know,
miniseries, and they gave him like a RoboCop visor instead of
just yeah, I don't get it.
all the decisions that you'd think they would make. Be like, I don't know, make it all tactical, like a jacket, and he's got a visor, and you
Yeah, it's
know.
the worst. The worst.
Speaking of my dad, there's also a thing where I'm finding that as I get older and older, I wouldn't say I'm completely becoming my dad, but he used to say this sort. He used to say this sort of thing a lot, and I say this now when I watch the movie. The last two times, when the plane they're getting to the island, and the horse and everything, and they cut to the engine's making a little noise, and then we cut to the the gas is on empty, and the fuel is falling out of the bullet holes. They jump on the horse, plane flies into the rock wall, huge explosion, and in my dad's voice, I go, "I thought the fuel was on empty." Like he was always he always critical of like, and you would see this a lot. Something would explode that's supposed to be out of fuel.
Right.
Anyway, it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but I do see that massive explosion, and I go, "So what's combusting? Like, fuck it, it's a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
It explodes."
It always does. The shark explodes at the end. Remember, the boat stabs the shark and the shark explodes. There's no explosives. Shark boat explosion. Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also same thing. I'm fine. I don't give a shit why, but the three skulls explode and vaporize Xander Drax,
Hmm.
but then everything else just explodes. The rest of the boat that he's not even standing on, just everything explodes. The mountain explodes. Just chunks of it fly out. I guess it's the power of the skulls or whatever. Whatever.
It doesn't, it's funny. It doesn't even matter. I've never even
No.
thought about that. I've seen this movie more times than I've written my own name, and I've never thought, why is everything exploding? But now I'm like, wow, I just watched it and I go, yeah, why is everything exploding? I don't care.
I don't care. Well,
It
no,
doesn't matter.
here's the thing. It's an old Hollywood production where things explode. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But I used to not think about that, and now my brain goes, "Hey," but also, I don't care. See, I'm not
Yeah.
totally my dad. A few little things. Um, we haven't even talked about, for my money, one of the best performances in this movie. Treat Williams as one of my favorite villain names ever, Xander Drax.
Xander Drax.
They tried, like I remember as a kid I even thought like, you're trying too hard. Like Drax is villainous, Xander, but this is too much. There's too many in this, but I
It
love it.
starts and ends with X.
You know what I love about him in this movie specifically? It's not. I mean, I do like the bravado, but what I like about it is at no point is his demeanor. Do we ever get a moment of him alone, or he turns away from someone and there's any menace? There's never. The energy is always this all the time. It's never not this.
Oh my God, what he goes, physical. I hadn't thought of that, or whatever.
Even when he's prepping the thing to stab the dude in the eyes, like,
Oh yeah.
I really respect that he is in the villain role. He is bad and has nefarious intentions, and he never ever plays it as nefarious. He never plays it as bad. They never break the veneer of like, this is just what I'm up to, and this is who I am, and I think it's good.
Yeah, it's for kids the whole time. It's
The
really,
whole
yeah.
time. It
Yeah.
never, you'd expect it to break, and I respect that it never breaks.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was watching it this last time, and I think I've always had this opinion, this movie is both great because of him, and the movie also fails because of him, depending on who your audience is. Like to me, I'm watching it and I love how over the top the character is. I remember when I first saw it, I remember thinking he's too over the top. And I love him. I quote him. I think, it begins and ends with X. Like I love all that. Um, and he's so 1940s villain, radio villain almost,
Mm-hmm.
that I think that regular audiences who don't even then didn't run into that stuff, I don't think they would get it. But he's a villain on a radio show, totally playing, you know, the Phantom must never know the truth about our, da da da. It's that, like you said, the bravado. Um, it is both one of the greatest things about the movie, and also one of the reasons it probably wasn't a huge hit
Yeah,
because
I
he's
mean,
so over the top.
because he doesn't bring any menace or weight, which if you for a villain that might be in fact it's not till you get to the boat where you get to the like the king of the pirates where you're like, oh,
And
here's
he's
a
the
bad guy.
mhm,
um
mhm.
but
Which I
I
like. I really like
Yeah.
that because they're different, and when he wants to join together, it's totally when he pitches him like I'll be for the future and I'll be the
Uh-huh. It
yeah,
reminds me a
totally.
little bit of like Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, but even then there's these quiet little moments, even if it's comical, where he takes himself very seriously. There is something about his energy that still feels like when he's got the kryptonite around Superman's neck and
Mhm, mhm.
that whole scene, there's still something underneath it. And I'm fine that this doesn't have that because it makes for uh I find it incredibly entertaining that his response to that guy who's not going to join them is he just takes the spear and throws it across the room.
Yeah, it's so
But
good.
then while the scene's ending, and I love that when even before he pulls it out, there's enough room that he could just walk around it, but he still goes underneath it. Like, I need to be inconvenienced by this, and then yank it out. And
Yeah.
then the beat's over, and I hope he improv this. He goes over to the door and checks that little scratch in the door. But there's so many menacing villains, and it's very similar to when and you see this with every actor who's ever played a villain. They talk about how like in order to play the villain, you have to convince yourself that like you're not the bad guy, that you're doing this for the right reasons, and this is my intention. But this goes beyond that. Like he's not even playing it as a bad guy, and this is my way in. Like this is what we're
This
here
is what
for.
I'm doing today.
Even when her dad is talking to the people at the party about no, he's a fucking goon. Like, and he comes like he's such a Rockefeller, and it's like no, he doesn't play it. I love the idea that the press and the police understand that he's a menace, and nothing about him seems like he'd be a menace.
Oh yeah. He's very, very
That's great.
charming. Yeah, very
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, I there's something more scary to him because he's howdy doody all the time. And he's
Oh yeah.
and he's like, "Oh yeah. Oh, you don't want to go? That's okay." Boom. And he goes, "Ah, man." And it was really it's like because they're all shocked and he goes, "Wow." And they all look over thinking that he's going to be like, "Oh my God." And he's like, "Man, the shoulder." Yeah. It's very he's diabolical without any edge. It's pretty funny.
He also has it's not even like a necessarily that funny of a line. It's just his reading is so like his energy, his intention is so when he's explaining, I had to write it down where he's already got the first skull and they're like, well, the two skulls point the way to where the third one is. And that one guy at the table is like, yeah, but we don't have the second skull. Like he's all worried. And he's like, Raymond, Ray,
Yeah, hello.
I know where the location of the second skull. Okay. Okay. Like
Well,
he's so annoyed.
and he has this impatience with everyone around him that they're all just like, "Oh my God, catch up to where I'm at." I'm trying to do this and you guys still don't get it. It's very it's almost like evil Cher from Clueless. You know, if you you know, it's he's just so annoyed, but not angry, but just kind of irritated at the time. Like, come on, guys, you don't know this. We're already here. And it's funny because we don't know what the hell he's doing, but that's they kind of like throw information in there through him saying stuff like that, and you go, and it totally works because it's within his character to not be sharing information until they need to know or he needs to go somewhere. Um,
Yeah,
and
he
he plays it with no thought behind, or just that he's already been doing this. You should already know where we're supposed to go. I already have this, duh. I
yeah
don't know. It's very different. Yeah.
yeah his so many of his readings. Also, when James Remar is like, he's finding out there's this guy in the jungle that's gumming up the works. He's like, yeah, but I already killed him, but he's not dead. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
years before Ron Burgundy went, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Fucking Sandra
Like,
Drax said that doesn't make sense.
yeah.
That's
It's so funny. Yeah, it's and I think that that's why his character also works so well because he's surrounded by serious people.
oh my god.
And you know how serious Kit Walker is. He's dead serious.
But
And
even that
so,
gangster dude, the
yeah,
chief
oh
of
yeah.
police,
Oh yeah. Uh,
everyone.
it's so great.
James Remar is not playing anything for laughs. He's got that
No.
gravel in his voice.
And he's scared too. He plays it like, no, it's a ghost because I killed him and he's still alive. That doesn't make any sense. Like it's but he didn't die. Here's where I put the hole in his back up to the hilt, you know. Yeah, it's so good.
Also so good. This is the first thing I saw Catherine Zeta-Jones in, but I didn't register her. I remember going, not to be like a teenage boy, but I'm like, oh, she's pretty.
Yeah.
But then after Mask of Zorro and like Entrapment, I'd go back and go, hey, you were in stuff before Zorro. But left such a mark. I because it's very James Bondian to have like such a horny villain,
Mhm.
but I fucking love. First of all, again, he drops down the laundry chute, and boom, does that land? That
Oh
fucking
yeah.
great land. But she points a gun at him, and he goes, "You're not supposed to point it again, or otherwise, it'll go off." And he like just
Oh,
snatches
so
it.
good.
But when he snatches it out of her hand, she immediately goes, "Ooh." And then, like, even before she does the whole, like, I'm going to seduce you and kiss you, just her gut reaction to someone besting her was, ooh. And she plays it because that could be an embarrassing kind of thing to have to play, but she plays like
Yeah.
it's not sultry and it's not quite vamping either, but it is something where she's kind of putting her libido on the forefront and she sells the hell out of it. She's fucking hilarious.
That's a great thing. And he goes, didn't you ever learn about guns? You careful you point it, it might go off. And he goes like that. It's so well done. That's super
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. And it's funny because my first thing when I saw that movie, it was in love. And then I went, oh my God, if they don't cast her as Catwoman, it will be the greatest disservice to superhero films. And then they never cast her as Catwoman. And I was like, oh, she's so perfect to play Selena Kyle. Like she looks like her, she acts like her, but we
Yeah.
got her playing, 1950s Selena Kyle in this.
Yeah. And then she eventually in Entrapment learned how to be a cat burglar.
See, I saw that movie too, and I was like, damn, they don't want to just make this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in love
Yeah.
when I discovered her in this movie. And yeah, she's funny. And it's funny because yeah, they have her doing a lot of stuff that in a lesser actor. Um, I think it would have come off as just so dumb, and
Yeah.
this it's silly, but it's more fun instead of like dumb.
Well, you're in a 1930s adventure comic strip movie, and most of the it's I wouldn't call them two-dimensional, but they are kind of stock characters. And your lead, basically, Kit and Diana aren't. Everyone
Right.
else kind of is, and
Right. Right.
yeah, she succeeds in that role in a way that I mean, I can't even like articulate it, but there's the third act of the movie. You're on this set. It looks like a pirate ship, and towards the end, it's like the Phantom, Diana. I don't remember her name. but the three of them are like running across the bridge to get to the thing, and I'm like, you've got like the kind of curly haired, the adventure, like the confident with the brown boots, kind of heroine girl, not quite Tess Trueheart, but like, and then you've got the bad girl. She's dressed in all black, kind of skin tight suit. You got a man in tights, and I'm like, this is pulp. This is pure like
Hmm.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is a pulp villainess.
Absolutely. Those characters are absolutely pulp status. And him,
Yeah,
running with the gun, and the
yeah,
holsters, and yeah, it's very, yeah, it's swashbuckling 1920s radio show. And you know what? And speaking of Diana, I like her because she genuinely, in situations like, if you talk about Princess Leia being a strong character, but they reduce her to just being a hostage. But I love, but except for, when she's a little short to be a stormtrooper and we're rescuing you. I love that Diana straight up looks at the Phantom and goes, "What are you doing? Is this supposed to be a rescue?" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she is just as capable as he is, and she's jumping from airplanes too, and she's
hmm
she's Lois Lane mixed with Indiana Jones, and it totally
yeah.
works. Christy
It,
Swanson kills that.
it doesn't, and it never feels. I mean, I'm all for elevating women to not just be the girl or the damsel,
Right.
but I also hate when we pander, and it never
Mhm.
feels like some
Yeah.
producers, some old man trying to like pander to us. Some guy with a cigar going like, make her, So like the fact that the second like she's untied, he's like, hey, we need to tie her up, and she's like, no, boom, I'm just gonna punch her in the face instead.
Yeah.
That tells you everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and it may also be
Yeah.
a really well-written script mixed with an actress who really does a good job at it. But she, at no point do you feel like, oh well, I guess Kit better go save her. It's much more like, oh my God, how are they going to stop this in time? Is Kit going to be able to stop this? Oh my God, is she going to be able to stop this? She's it's funny because when I was watching it as well, even though I automatically identify with Kit Walker, when you're watching it, most of the movie, she's the normal person.
Mm-hmm.
She's the main, she's really the crux of the movie. She's the main character we're following, and Kit is just kind of following her around on her adventure almost.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I really liked about the movie that I responded to this time more than any time was that it's gonna sound like a weird comparison at first, and I'll get to it. But when she's on the plane, that the pirates have landed the plane, and Catherine Zeta-Jones gets on board, and they're like, "We're looking for Diana Palmer," and she immediately goes like, "I am," like that's me, and I'm like, "That's what Batman would do."
Mhm.
Like like we're looking for Bruce Wayne. Like I am not going to let a
Yeah.
single person
Mhm.
get hurt on account of me. Like this is me. Yes, I will go with you. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh, awesome. The second she takes off her boot and the little note drops, she's like, I need to cover it up with my foot. I'm like, I like every choice that you're making because you're not like you. First of all, here's the thing I love about her from the get go. Her dad wants to meet with this guy to get information about Xander Drax. Like, I don't trust this guy. He's bad. We need to stop him. I want to use the power of the press to fuck this guy over. And well, I don't think you should go. And she's like, I'll go. Oh, I don't know. Like in her heart, she's like, this is the right thing to do. Fuck Xander Drax. I'm gonna protect my old ass dad. I'm gonna go to where the danger is because that's
Hmm.
the right thing to do. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
and then every
That's
step along the way, she's doing the right thing. Even punching Catherine Zeta-Jones, the next scene is them getting to the top of the boat, and it isn't just him shooting a bunch of people to protect her. She's decking dudes in the face. She's kicking them in the dick. You get to the pirate ship at the end. She gets a sword. She's sword fighting people. She's awesome.
yeah, she is Wendy, status. Like she's really, she's the hero. And I think,
She's
and this
adult
is
Wendy, and he's got Peter Pan hands on the hips.
syndrome.
Like,
Yeah, he
yeah,
that's right. I mean, there's a lot of Peter Pan references in this. At least it seems that way. Now we're talking about it that way. But she could totally be adult Wendy. She sword fights pirates.
yeah.
She does what's right. She stands up for what's right. So I love that about not only her character but her and Kit specifically, or even the other people that live in the jungle with Phantom. They all want to do what's right. They want to do the right thing. The
Oh
good
yeah.
guys want to do the right thing and stop bad guys, and just something our superheroes just they don't directly do that anymore.
I mean, they say it more than once, and I know this goes back to like the comic, but like I'm going to fight against all forms of piracy and evil
Hmm.
and wrongdoing, and I'm like, I mean, this is to a certain degree a movie that is like to me crafted for like a 10-year-old boy's
Absolutely.
perspective to just indulge. Like, of course, you can't overthink the logistics of. So every time he has, what if he doesn't have a son? Does he have a daughter? What if that one
Yeah.
son doesn't? No, no, no. There's an oath. It's passed from father to son. Don't think about it too
And
much.
it
This
goes
is
back
this
10
is how.
generations and that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. This is good guys, and those are bad guys. It's simple as that. Do not.
Yeah.
Well, what does he just live in the jungle all the time on that throat? Shut up. It's just he's a good guy, and this
He's a
is
good
his.
guy who lives on the island. He can go wherever he needs to. It's fine. Good guys wear the jumpsuit. The bad guys, wear
He,
fedoras.
he can talk to fucking horses and wolves. It's
All
more.
that is done very, very standard, straight up, and doesn't seem
Yeah.
that dumb.
The only time The only time it feels not dumb, because dumb's not the right word, but I laughed and I'm laughing now when when he's stuck on the plane. So the wolf runs off the boat and then it goes up to the horse and goes ruff, ruff,
Oh
ruff,
yeah,
ruff. And then the horse fucking they trained it to nod. And I'm like,
that's a
the horse can talk to the wolf.
well,
They
yeah,
understand and the horse nods. Oh my
of
god, it's
course,
great. It's great.
of course he does. Why wouldn't he?
And the first 10 times I saw that movie, especially when I was in theaters, I'm like, oh, it's great. Yeah. That's just superhero and not magic, but like that's how Tarzan he is. Like he
It's
just
Tarzan. He's
yeah.
Tarzan. Yeah, yeah, uh he's completely a mix of Tarzan and Batman, and it just totally
Oh yeah.
works. It
And I
totally
mean,
works.
yeah, I mean, and pre-Batman,
Hmm.
like
Oh yeah. Well,
I
the
mean,
cave and everything, that's all from Phantom.
yeah. Growing up as yeah, because I know it predated as far as I know, I don't know how accurate it is, but you hear a lot about the Phantom being credited as like the first superhero, like in tights, where we're transitioning out of um like the
Detective.
shadow.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Shadow. Yeah.
And we're going into actual superheroed people. And
Yeah.
but there is a template, and I don't know how far back it goes, but growing up through just sort of pop culture, experiencing it all between like Zorro and Batman and the Phantom, I'm like, yes, you have your cave, you have someone who helps you, you have either a Batmobile or a steed, you have
Hmm.
a mask, and you leave your cave to, there's a formula to it, a very
Absolutely.
simple formula. Um, but also, when there's the guy on the island that the dad was supposed to meet, and then she meets instead. I love earlier they do the Batman thing where
Hmm.
he's hanging out and he turns and the Phantom's just there and he's like, oh, why do you always have to why do you always have to do that? That's so like Commissioner Gordon.
Oh no, it's perfect. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I was going to mention that character, the sidekick character in Phantom, I feel like they're the regulars on the show, and this
Yeah,
movie's
yeah.
an episode.
That's your
And
Alfred.
it's just,
That's your Commissioner
yeah,
Gordon. Yeah, yeah. On any given day, there's some poachers on the
this is every
island.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We call the bat signal by beating the drums.
Mhm. I
You go
love
take
that.
yeah.
And I love when he plays it so uh casual and they say the Phantom is many men. And he's lighting his pipe and stuff. It's just so
And I have to keep pretending that I don't know who you are. Like,
right.
yeah, this is there. You're right. There's definitely a version of this where this is like the third or fourth movie
Mhm.
where like, oh, now we're dealing with the guy who killed your dad and the ring that. But like, there have been other adventures that we haven't been privy to.
And I think that that's another testament to the script and the actors and the director and how it's edited. It feels like it's lived in, and it feels like it's accurate and these relationships are real. It's just, yeah, it's really well done. The surrounding cast is outstanding.
Absolutely.
John Tenney, Jimmy Wells, the guy that has a crush on Diana.
Hmm. It's got like two scenes.
Oh my God.
Makes the most.
I've seen that, the Jade scene. He goes, I've got it. And you're like, oh, he's an asshole. He's gonna be a funny asshole right now. And Kit's gonna have to kick his ass. And he goes, my 10th birthday party. It was kind of like it reminded me of Leo Getz, it was somebody brought a monkey and the monkey knocked over the bar. And when I was just like, is this asshole gonna be smart with the Phantom? And then Eddie goes, it's da 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 da. And they're like, wait, what? It just he is so 1930s works at the newspaper. You know, he he's literally in 4 seconds of the movie, and his character is super memorable to when he comes on screen. I go, oh, this guy, you know, like he just he's a great actor and he's great in everything I've ever seen him in. But for some reason, this is always my favorite when he shows up. He destroys it. He's so funny, and he looks like he belongs with his mustache and everything. He looks like he belongs in a 1940s serial, you know, being
Yeah.
it's almost the Billy Zane character in Tombstone. It's the equivalent of that, where it's
Oh
like
yeah.
he's kind of this other character that, and once again, that's a character that would be in the show. I expect that show to him to be in the next comic book, you know, and eventually he's going to get kidnapped, and eventually the Phantom and him are going to have to work together, you know, that type of thing. Um, it's really a tragedy there were no sequels to this, because I feel like
Oh my
all of those,
God.
if all those people had come back and done another one, it would have been excellent again, you know.
Yeah. I think one random thought I have. We were talking about producing before, and it just popped in my head when I was watching it. Because the more I everything costs money, and every location you go to, right? Every number of extras you have, every time you do like a stunt and all the coverage you have, like it all fucking costs money. And I'm always impressed when like, oh wow, you did that. But I'm also impressed when movies are smart about how you save money. And
Mhm.
there's a little thing in this movie, and it's so minor, but I'm like, oh, that's a smart choice. We show the two planes, the two little red biplanes attacking or coming up to the big plane that Diana's on. We then cut to uh, the Phantom's cave, and his little buddy's like listening to the radio, and he's like, "Oh, a plane's been downed in the ocean." Oh, and then we just cut back to it on the water, and I'm like, when those planes fly in, I was expecting an action scene or something. And even just to like have them show up and cross, you're going to have to do a lot of compositing. That's a whole day where you have to have the plane land. You have to do shit. But no, you cut away, you explain what's happening, and then you cut back. I'm like, not only is that economic and cost cutting, but the scene in the cave also shows for 1938 anyway that he's got tech, that he's got his
Mhm.
back computer, that
Mhm.
he knows what's going on, that he's got an Alfred that's listening for shit. So it's not just cost cutting, it still serves the story and gives you,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is how you produce a movie.
Mhm.
This is how you find a compromise that's also intelligent. Like raw fucking vo.
Yeah, no,
That
totally.
one
Yeah.
bit, that one bit, you could teach a class, and this is how you produce.
Mhm.
These are
Well,
the choices you make.
and like you said, like it sets once again, it makes the world, you know, feel real. Like the guy listening to the radio and everything, while being, like you're saying, a cost cutting measure from this perspective, it ends up being world building by showing you, oh, it's the 1930s, and this is super advanced at the time. And you know, he has like essentially a CB radio with earphones.
Right.
It's like not a big deal, but at the time, you know, it's like in the shadow where they're sending a wire and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, this is super, you know, super tech. Yeah, absolutely. Everything in the the Phantom's Cave is super cool in this movie. I like everything that they have in the Phantom's Cave.
Yeah, especially the room full of jewels and like
Awesome.
anytime you leave the island though, like you're probably gonna need either currency or to trade to get currency for you. Like it all, there's a payoff to all. It's not just a room of jewels.
Yeah, no, it's how he funds himself, and it's very Bruce Waynean.
Yes. Um, the littlest, but I complimented the producers, but then also the tiniest of nitpicks. Not like it matters that much, but I do find it funny that the title card, uh, when we establish like, oh, we're in this jungle, 1938, but then when we're at the museum and the banners all say 1939, and I go, somebody forgot to write down
Well,
what
you
year.
know, I can't say anything on camera, but I am 100% sure that there were there were no checks and balances, because in movies, theatrical production, I can tell you there's so many people with agendas and goals that you got somebody over here trying to do this. You got somebody over here just trying to make the movie happen. You got someone over here trying to do this. And then over there, you got the director trying to make something happen. And so years, You won't even believe the things I could tell you. The years get swapped, and like there's different things in movies where you're like, wait, but that doesn't match that. I hadn't even noticed that the see what's funny is now I remember the banner that says 1939, and I do remember the title card when they're in the truck in the jungle that
Yeah.
says 1938. I've never even put that two together, but that's one of those things that happens even to this day. But nowadays we have the ability to go back and digitally change it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a problem. That's something that continuity of just like, oh yeah, we have posters here, and then in
Hmm.
post we did this, and it happens so often that people, it's yeah. So it's funny.
Yeah.
I never even realized that till you said that right now, and I'm remembering in the museum, and then I'm remembering the title card. Totally right.
But just a disclaimer to anyone out there, catching a continuity error does not make you like, a good movie watcher or anything. Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like in Star Trek too. The plot is more important than
Well, that's the thing
canon.
is,
Yeah,
as long, well, here's the thing. If your movie is shit, fine. Yeah, the continuity issues can matter because you got nothing. But if the movie is the thing and the scene is greatest example I can ever think of is in Goodfellas. There's
hmm.
a whole scene with Paul Sorvino talking to Ray Liotta, and every time we cut back to Paul Sorvino, the ash on his cigar
Oh
change.
yeah, it changes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I know it's Scorsese and it's one of the greatest movies ever made, but you know what's important? Paul Sorvino's performance. You know what's not important? The cigar.
Right. Well, yeah, in editing, I know movies, Batman Returns, that are horrible at editing in continuity from shot to shot. And then you have, and it's a horrible movie. And then you have great movies that do the same thing just as egregiously, but they're great movies. And it's another Batman movie, The Dark Knight, when he's on the Bat Pod and he goes through this, he goes through this, he goes this, he goes through this, he's in a mall, and then he's out. None of those shots match each other. None of that makes any sense. You might as well have just shot 5 different days and shot him driving through shit and then just edited it together to make it work. And it for some reason just like, yep, 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 here we go.
Yeah, the
And
SWAT truck and the direction that it's in, and then how
none of that makes any
if you
sense.
actually
And
go shot, 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 doesn't actually work. But when you
yep,
cut it all together and you score it and you're in the story, who gives a
yeah,
shit? Who gives a
yeah,
shit?
yeah. And what's funny, yeah, and I think that this movie has that in different ways, and that signage is funny that's like that. But I feel like this movie has some of that in different ways, like you were talking about, like the explosions and stuff. But the narrative in the movie's happening, you're on the adventure, it just doesn't matter.
Well, also you said it right there. You're on the adventure, and this is one of the last of a dying genre, specifically adventure,
Yeah,
and not action adventure or an action movie. But the uh, adventure movies have action in them. That doesn't necessarily make them action movies. But we hardly ever make a pure adventure anymore.
right.
We kind of
Well,
got back
and
to it with the Mummy movies, and then we kind of got to it with Pirates of the Caribbean to a certain degree. But there's
that
a
first Mummy
spirit.
movie, dude. That first Mummy
Oh my
movie.
god.
What a great film. And it's funny because watching that, they borrowed heavily from the Phantom. Like the
Mhm.
look of the first Mummy movie has so much Indiana Jones and a lot of the Phantom in it, especially when they come back, anything in the regular world and stuff has a very Phantom vibe of it. And in the second movie, it looks like the Phantom when they go back to England or whatever. The way people are
Oh
dressed, the
yeah.
cars, the vibe, it's very the Phantom, even the lighting, the cinematography, and it's on it's a different continent, but it completely is reminiscent of the Phantom.
Can I tell you a little thing that I noticed this time that I've never noticed ever?
Oh yeah.
I saw this in theaters when I was 15. I'm 43 now, and I never noticed in the opening sequence once Kit's great 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 granddad washes ashore, gets rescued. The tribal guy that hands him the ring. I never noticed that his tribal makeup is the outline of the Phantom mask,
Oh, I have to see that. I
and
didn't
it's
notice that.
in purple,
No
and
shit.
it matches. And I'm like,
I've never realized that because it's also a very quick scene that there's
like,
it's choppy and it's quick. So
yeah,
I've
go
never
back
even noticed
and
that.
look
That's
when he
funny.
hands him the ring because you're looking at the ring, not looking
Yeah,
at the dude. But I just like that the design of his mask goes back, like 400 years.
that's rad. It's okay. So something else that's because you brought up the great great grandfather, whatever, dying or being rescued. his dad,
Patrick
his dad.
McGowan,
Oh my God, his.
Secret
I
Agent
wish that
Man.
that's. I wish that was my dad. You know what I'm saying? Like when he shows up, you know, you're 2 on second, you're bottom of the ninth. You're still missing a skull, and they're in the back of the car, and he's talking to his dad, and his dad is giving him shit, and his dad is dressed very, suave 1920s pimp, and he's in the back of the car, and it's not done silly and overdone. It's not like, oh, there's a ghost in the car. It's casually, he just starts talking, and he's like, "Leave me alone, Dad," and he's like, uh, and it's funny because there's not even a plot that like him and his dad like make up. It's not overly cooked. It's just the ghost of his father haunts him, and it's always been that way. That's the Phantom. I just all of it lands, and him and Billy Zane have
Oh, so
they
good.
don't look anything alike, and it doesn't matter. Like
But
you
they're
totally, they have this. It's great.
yeah, I get that his dad is still getting under his skin. Like I
Hmm.
get the shame and the nudging of it all.
And also, I
But
like the when he says saw the belt. Yeah, he's the guy who did the. They're. It's just so. It's almost like he's along on the case and is helping him figure things out. It's just once again, and it totally is played straight. It's not played silly. It's not played funny. It's not played scary. It's straight up.
but it works as funny, but it also works as like something that's guiding him. Like it functions in about two or three different ways.
Yeah, and that and you can't forget same character that's in the shadow. Once again, I think these are in the same universe. The taxi driver.
I was just about
Um,
to say.
and he
And, oh, are you talking to
clearly
me?
the yeah, Killy still wait, no, clearly the killer saw the size of the bug's dick and became insanely jealous. It was Iguado, and so like when I was watching it right now, I was like, oh my God, it's the same character from the shadow, it's just a different actor. But he's great. You totally believe he just is perfect for that part. It's probably
Makes
a
the
dad of
most.
six. He
Yeah,
he eats spaghetti every night, and it's 1930s. It's so it's
yeah.
great.
And the fact that he's like, oh well, I had that Jules, you gave me a praise, so like, oh
You got me for the rest of the night.
yeah.
So great.
I
All of
love New
those.
York. I love this city. That sort of. Oh, he's great.
Yeah, it's it's once again it's world building. You know that taxi driver. You know that guy. You know that guy in all the comics and all the the taxi driver guy. Yeah, that guy. Oh yeah,
That's it.
you can. It's the personality of the taxi and Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's Cabby. And it totally really works.
Between the cabbie, between was it Deborah's like would be suitor, Diana's would be suitor,
Hmm.
Jimmy, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah,
The like the gangster, like
the one that gets shot with the cannon.
all the second tier actors in this or second tier characters all show up, leave their mark, are working at 200%. Like this is how you show up for like your week,
Yeah,
and really, and I don't know his name, but that gangster guy,
yeah.
I
Let me
fucking
see.
love him. He
He
I
was
first
in
saw he was in
Once Presumed Innocent. David Proval.
okay, he was in UHF.
Yes, he
He
was.
works for the bad guy, and I think he's the guy who tells Fran Drescher like broads don't belong in broadcasting,
Yeah.
Um, but he's also the guy when Weird Al's when he's chasing Weird Al, Weird Al's firing these staples, and then you see him, he's got the fucking staples in his face. Fucking, I love him. I geeked out because I remember I was like maybe 11 or 12 when I saw Beauty and the Beast out. I forget which theater in LA I saw it in, but the musical.
Mhm.
Oh, it was after that. It had to been like 94, 95. But all I know is when we were exiting the show, he got to the elevator with us to the parking garage. And I'm like,
Oh, that's badass. Like he's gonna kill us.
well, he was with like, I think his kid, but his energy was very like, quite like, I know why you get cast as gangsters.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's funny because
even at your most fatherly, and you're just like escorting your daughter into the elevator, like, I'm afraid you're gonna kill me. Because like you just not in a bad way.
it's funny is Innocent Blood. Do you remember that movie, the vampire movie? He's in Innocent
Hmm.
Blood. It's a vampire
I know
gangster
it. Yeah.
movie. And he's in that, and he has a great part in that, and he is a ruthless. He looks like he's completely someone pulled out a casino, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
I've seen
and it,
the video box of Innocent Blood my whole life. I've never seen it though.
oh, it's a guilty pleasure. I like vampires, I like gangsters, and I like attractive French vampires that we have short hair. It's a fun, stupid '90s, overly violent, overly sexual vampire movie, but he's in it, and he has a great he plays that character, and so when he shows up in this, and I even like that he's like he goes, no more bullshit, don't trust this guy. I just want to get out of here. You tell me where to get out of here, and I'm out. And they go, and then Shang Tsung says in whatever, and he goes, huh? What does that mean? He goes, means fire the cannon. Boom! It's just like you said. He shows up, he plays that part, and he's great at it. And when he dies, you're genuinely surprised. Like when anybody dies in this, or any of the villains get like offed or something, they're all great character actors or names. And when they go, it's a
Oh, they
surprise
go.
when yeah they go, but when they go, it's a genuine surprise.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that still to this day I anticipate it of him getting shot with a cannon, and I still go oh because of the force,
Yeah, oh
especially
man,
especially with the splash
yeah, it's so great.
every time.
It's so great.
Um, Also, I just I don't have I'm never gonna get his name right. I know it's Kerry Tagawa, but
Shang Tsung.
yeah,
He's
I'll,
excellent. I mean,
yeah, and I don't know how he feels about it. I know actors, not to get like too woke about things, but like I know actors do accents all the time. Michael Fassbender plays German or plays American, whatever. But I remember the first time I saw him in a behind the scenes footage, and he sounded like he was from Southern California. I'm like,
yeah,
the fuck, what? Every movie you're in,
his accent sounds real.
yeah, and
The soul is mine.
they always cast him as like a Fu Manchu type.
Mhm.
Um, but so I don't know how he feels about that or not, but I fucking love him in this, and because he's the extra juice that
Mhm.
this like I like Xander Drax. It's funny, but all of a sudden the movie feels like it has a threat.
Yeah.
And I love when two villains don't see eye to eye. I'm like, what's gonna happen next? I don't know what's gonna happen next. And then I literally have the Phantom fighting fucking Shang Tsung, and there's a sword fight, and fucking
Yeah.
he's doing flips over a cannon.
Yeah.
You know what's? Oh my god, I remember it from the trailers, and I used to fucking every time. I mean, I know there's so much we talked about the Phantom as far as his posture, about him. Even when he gets out of the elevator, he does that barrel roll, and he gets up. His run is still at a crouch
Oh, it's
because
so amazing.
he rides the horse at a crouch. But when he's got those two fucking guns, crossed arms, and switches,
Oh my God. Oh my God, so great. Ja,
dude,
ja, ja, ja. It's so good.
I look. That's not even like a when you look forward to a scene or a line or a stunt. I just look forward to seeing this. I just
Yeah.
everything
Oh,
about his posture. It wasn't until I got way older and learned that the 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 idea of firing two guns at two different things, like John Woo Rodriguez style, like Desperado and all that,
man.
is nonsense because
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like you're supposed to look at where you're shooting. So
Right.
this is horseshit. Um, it's a 1930s adventure, man, and it's cool. It looks cool.
And you know what else? I
The
mean, since we're
mariachi diving and like it just looks cool.
yeah, yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
And that's something that those movies like those movies, seeing Antonio Banderas use the guns in that way, and it's kind of like John Woo goes a little far sometimes, but like with Rodriguez with the ballet of them flying and firing things, this movie has some of that and does it in a really cool way that feels believable. But once again, I think it's Billy Zane just kicking ass. With something else with those guns that I love, and you know what I'm gonna say, when he goes down the elevator shaft and it goes
Elevator.
like this, oh my
He
God. I
flips.
told
He
you.
grabs the barrel so that he flicks the handles
Yeah,
around.
and there's I can't.
Sparks.
It's so awesome. And that, like I said, that's the beginning of my favorite scene in the movie where he's going down the elevators, he's hanging, and then he pulls himself up, rolls through, holsters his guns, picks up the purse. Like it's just so perfect. And it's edited so you can tell there's music in their head. And it's just doom, 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 doom. There's a rhythm to
Oh
it.
yeah.
Just so
Anytime
well
in a
done.
movie, especially it's usually on a zip line where someone takes an object because obviously your hands are, and they use that thing to zip line. So, and this is obviously a different direction, but the second he takes the guns and he like grabs him by the barrel. Oh my
So
god,
good. Oh my God, I love that.
so
I
good.
Yeah, it's to me when it comes to superhero movies, and being a big Batman guy, this does it right.
Oh, totally. It even manages to do the thing that because as we get older and movies of the past maybe haven't aged as well, and also as I personally get older, um, and just my world, like I essentially become more and more liberal. So,
Same, yeah. Same,
so
yeah.
as I've become aware of tropes that are dated tropes, the white savior trope, or your Doctor Strange, your Iron Fist, where someone goes to a mystical land and the white person is somehow better at it than
Hmm.
all of the Asian people or all of the native of whatever area they're going to. And I never thought about that, but I was the very opening scene of the Phantom. I'm like, oh yeah, he washes. Oh shit, he washes up on an island. Wait, am I gonna fucking have to? Oh shit, is this gonna be that he? Because I don't remember the specifics, the nitty gritty of like, wait, is he a white person that's better at? And I, thankfully, at least 21 generations removed, it really feels like this is my spot on the island.
Hmm.
Sometimes these native people help me out, like when I'm running through the jungle and they drop down the nooses and pull those two guys up, and we have a relationship. And I wave at them, and they help me out, and I'm like, okay, okay, this is okay. Like I was, so, but you could tell though if you want to read into the origins, is that the very
Hmm.
very first one, his great whatever, clearly they've got the skulls, they've got the ring, and they don't go into the specifics, and I don't think they need to, but there's something about this tribe of people that go, oh, we found this little white boy. Give him the ring. And he's
Yeah,
going to grow up and be this badass. And you go, there's a little bit of like the awesome white guy being like, if you want to, again, it was written a long time ago, but
yeah.
but at least generationally within the story, we're kind of removed from that. And like, Kit
Well,
was raised in the city and
yeah.
educated and came back and took over. This is what it is. This is now more our hiding spot. Anyway, all to say that I'm happy that 20, however many years after this movie came out, I can look at it through modern scrutiny and go, oh, thank God that even though he's on this fictional island full of native people, it isn't cringy and shitty.
Well, I think also
Not
what I
cringy and
something
shitty.
exactly. Well, I think I and you're right. I mean, them giving them a ring makes me go, oh, okay, kind of right there. But I do think something I like about it is at no point does he um try to assimilate, or what's the he doesn't try to appropriate their
Right.
culture at
And
no
and
point, and
he
he's
even
not
though
part of their tribe. He is
he has a
someone who
throne, but he's not their king.
no, he lives by himself. And not only that, but also the idea that he is not there to save the tribe. He is not there to represent the tribe. He is not part of the tribe. He is someone through generational is like, listen, I'm here to stop the people. I'm here to stop the people that killed my family, to avenge them, because and which also makes his character really great is he's so progressive that he's anti-technology to a level. He's anti-destroying the forest. He's anti, but at no point is he painted as the tribe's savior. At no point is he a representative of the tribe. At none of that, except for when they give him the ring. So that part is a little bit. But I do like that I live here. This is my home too. They live there. That's their thing. My my generational, you know, penance is to live here, and I go where I'm called, but this is where I live. It's not like he's the single protector of the island. It's not that it's just he's the guy between those guys and messing up nature. Those are the people that saved me, so I owe them. But this whole island is almost he owes it. It's part of his lineage, as opposed to, oh, it's not Dances with Wolves where, you know what I'm saying? Like he's
Yeah.
the white savior. Because it's really more protection of the island than it is of any of the indigenous people. The indigenous people live their lives, and I assume rightly fight off bad guys too, but he is specifically pirates, piracy at any level.
Right.
And if it comes near my home, I'm taking it out. If I find out about it somewhere else, I'm gonna take it out too.
In fact, I can't help but wonder if you had told the story different, or his origin differently, so that it was someone from the tribe itself who commanded this ring and passed it down generation to generation. It
Mhm.
almost wouldn't work, because whenever you have these like white raiders coming to like steal the skull, right? If the phantom that lives in the jungle was a scary brown man, you're like, oh, that's actually worse. That you would like fear. You're basically othering
Yeah,
your
right. Yeah.
you're making it more xenophobic. I'm not justifying like, hey, take a white guy and put him on this island full of brown people. It's great, but like you open up this weird other can of worms.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
Well, I think
we're digging into something that's not, but
right, but I
it's
mean
something to
this is
ponder.
a it's a commentary on it. I think especially in a modern setting, I I think also it, based on honestly, I mean the film, there's racially, culturally, background, even sexually, there's a wide uh, you know there's a wide range of characters in this movie and in this story, and at no point do they make it seem there's no like I said Johnny Quest earlier, but it's not Haji levels.
No.
It's more like, I don't know, it doesn't seem, it feels like Indiana Jones almost, like you, even though there's some white savior in there, it feels a lot more like this is my situation that I brought to you guys, and for the rest of my life and my kids' life and their kids' life, we're gonna stop these guys from fucking up this island. It has nothing to even do with the tribe. It's much more of it's a Batman. It's a personal thing. Them giving the ring, like I said, that there's a little bit there, but overall, at least in this movie, they moved away from that,
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
can see that.
It
And I'm glad, especially for 1996,
yeah.
because that was everywhere. That could be even more, but I like that it's not.
Yeah, like if you had made a movie about the first Phantom, then
Mhm.
your whole movie would have been like, oh my God, really? But it's just like this like 30-second opening scene, and then we just kind of move away from it. And we're telling like this story. But I
Yeah,
couldn't, but the second you do that opening scene, I'm like, oh, you got me thinking about things now that I never ever thought about before. But you're right,
yeah,
especially in 1996. Could
yeah.
have
I
been
mean,
worse.
because in the plot, at no point is he the chosen one of
Exactly.
these indigenous people. He's the savior. He's at
That's
no point is he even thought of as the savior to the tribe. He literally is a vigilante who lives on the island, who appreciates nature and animals. And if you're gonna come fuck with the animals, you're gonna start fucking with the people. You're gonna fuck with. I'm here to stop you because you killed my great 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 grandfather, and there you go.
and from like just a logistic technical standpoint, if you are some kind of poacher or you're some kind of pirate and you've come onto this island that's very much a brown island and it has this fucking like this British outpost, if the Phantom shows up and thwarts you, you would never think, oh, it's like a white guy from New York. So you've
Yeah.
got this added like mystery, this kind of plausibility that
Well, they also there is some vibe in this that Bill, because Billy Zane, and I don't know what his ethnic background is, but he's not the whitest looking dude I've ever seen. So there's also kind of and I always thought this because he doesn't look like his father. I always assumed that the
oh,
character was multi-ethnic, anyways, because he at no point, even Kit Walker, when he shows up, he's noticeably browner, darker colored, darker every hair, skin tone, features. He does not look like anybody else in the movie, including the guy who plays his father. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, he's multi-ethnic. And I know that at no point do they say that, but in general, to me, he's pretty tan.
he
He's
does. Yeah,
pretty.
he's on an
He's
island.
got, yeah. So to me, I always thought he was multi-ethnic because his father must have fallen in love with somebody from the island and had a child with them.
Now that you mention, I mean, I'm actually just impressed that he doesn't have like a permanent like tan. Like,
His eyeliner comes off when he takes the mask
yeah,
off. It's
I
it's
think
magic.
I think I know who the Phantom
Yeah.
is.
You see the lines right here?
You know,
He has
I
a perfect
never.
mask.
Oh, I mean, I imagine obviously like Batman. He's not always dressed as the Phantom, but you know what I realize? I think the first time do we truly like? No, wait. When he never mind. He's reading the book. I was about to say he's always dressed as the Phantom when we see him on the island, and I thought that when he got to New York, that was the first time we saw Kit. But he's being dressed by his Alfred. Like his
Mm.
wound is being tended to,
Yeah.
and that's like the only time I don't. But you know what I'm getting at is
Yeah,
that
most of the time he's a phantom.
aside from being injured and having to take the tights off, he he's got a I just want to call her, yeah, Diana, but he goes to get her jewels. He's
Hmm.
showing her around. He's always the Phantom in that cave.
Yep.
Not like you need to show me Bruce Wayne, but I like that there is a language of when we're on the island and he's the Phantom and he's in this, and we're just
He's a phantom.
any scene where he's not going to be in it is not a scene that we really need to show you.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, on the island, the main character is Diana for most of it, from my perspective. Like, and I'm watching it, which is cool because when he's on the island, he's the Phantom. He's
Mm-hmm.
Phantom. And then Kit Walker, as it should be, Kit Walker is the disguise. Kit Walker is the not real
Yes.
person. Kit Walker went to college and he's not a real person. Phantom is the real person. And I love the ghost who walks and the Phantom is many men. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's so
And
pimp.
just the lighthearted little lines like when his little buddy calls him Ghost Who Walks, and she's like, does he not know? He's like, oh no, he knows. He just
Likes
likes to
calling me
call me.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ghost who walks, yes.
little lines. Yeah, I don't know how much of it because one of the things I've always appreciated about this movie is the tone of it. Because it's not camp and it's not dead serious. The thing I love
It's
about it,
it's right on it's right on the border
well,
of that.
at the forefront, it's earnest.
Mhm.
It's just an adventure movie with a hero and a happy bad guy and daring do and doing what's right, but there are moments of silliness and levity. And even though it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's not tongue in cheek either. It's fun. It's fun and it's earnest. But what I find interesting about this movie is how it got there because I know that originally, I forget the guy who wrote its name or co-wrote it. He's I think his last name is Bohm, but he wrote like Last Crusade.
Hmm.
He and Joe Dante, I think, wrote the script. Joe Dante was going to direct, and
Which he's perfect Joe Dante for that,
but
yeah.
his version of it was funnier. It was going to
Oh yeah.
be his. It was going to be like kind of a spoof, and
Mm.
then infamously they shut the production. They shut it down after the script. Then decided to make it a year later. Kept that script. I think there was like a rewrite, but Joe Dante was like, we wrote it to be kind of a comedy, and they're playing it straight. And he kind of regretted. He still got a producer credit on it, but he's like, based on his story, I expect the movie to be more of a mess, to feel like there's funny things that are played. You know what it should feel like? It should feel like Alien Resurrection, where Joss Whedon wrote a Joss Whedon script, but
Mm.
but oh, I just forgot his name. Jean Pierre Jeunet shot it like a Jean Pierre Jeunet movie.
Right,
They're
right, right.
still saying Joss Whedon lines, and it doesn't totally work. I don't get that with this.
Hmm.
I feel like whatever remnants of humor from the original Joe Dante version are still there. Highlight little scenes here and there, but it's not a comedy. It's a really, I've said it already, it's a very earnest, just fun, sweet
Yeah.
movie that happens to have a layer of funny asides here and there. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think,
absolutely.
yeah, and I love that it's got that vibe to it. Especially for 19, that's the thing that shocked me is in 90s. This like Paramount had their summer was like, they had two big things going for them in that summer: Mission Impossible and the Phantom, and that's all you couldn't get away from. Every poster, billboard, all the trailers. I remember like this is Paramount summer, and especially in that modern age, that '90s era of sarcasm becoming big and trying to do edgier. The other like comic book movie, I think it was '96, Tank Girl, but like we're going in the '90s MTV era of cynicism.
Yeah.
We had this really goofy, sweet, old fashioned. This is not a night like nothing about this movie feels like a '90s movie.
Yeah, and yeah, and I think that that's what definitely, like you said, earnest. It feels like an old-fashioned like good guys, bad guys. We gotta stand for what's right, and it's yeah,
Yeah. Nothing about what Kit is saying, the way it, like every delivery, there's no, it's so genuine and so like goofy and good natured, and there's no cynicism to any of it. There's no ironic subtext that
yeah.
allows us to have this movie. No, we're just putting it on Front Street.
And there's no fourth wall like, you know what that
Exactly.
means. None of that. It's like you said, earnest. And it's good guys and bad guys, and they want to do the right thing. And it's yeah,
It's the kind of movie that allows you or allows him to genuinely, when he's trying to rescue her and she punches and then leaves the room and he just goes, she hasn't changed one bit. Like
yeah.
we're not we're not laughing at it, and it's not trying to excuse itself for being. It's just
It's
perfectly
yeah,
forthright. I love it.
yeah.
It's old
It's
timey.
supposed to be a rescue.
Yeah.
It's so like it's and I like his kind of because also he is totally not into Catherine Zeta-Jones, and the more inappropriate she is, and the more blatant he is, the more he's like, yeah, I don't know, I don't like this, I don't like you. He's just kind of like, who taught? He has this real like, what's wrong with you? And then he's
Yeah.
chasing after Diana. It's
I mean, he literally barges into a room full of women getting dressed, and he's genuinely like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
oh,
Like
sorry, ladies. So good.
so polite. Like
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. I like him. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
really
in a modern era, he understands their safe space and he gives them the distance, and
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, he's an old-fashioned gentleman, but he's
yeah.
also very understanding and he supports and I love that because as you said, like it's always like, but the fact that our the star, the hero, he's only attracted to the incredibly strong leader female who's totally out of his league, and that's what I'm saying, like, and she's done so well and written so strong and done in a way where if little girls watch this, the Phantom isn't even the main character. He's arguably not even the only hero in the movie, and I
Mhm.
I I think that really really is great for all the characters, especially the two main characters.
Yeah, especially when Diana, I think they're either on a plane or in a car or something, but Catherine Zeta-Jones turns around and says something sassy, and she's like, I
Yeah,
forget what
what's
she
wrong
said.
with you?
What's
It's
wrong
something
with
like
you?
that. Yeah, like what's wrong with you?
What?
Like,
She's
yeah,
like, what do you like? At least I stand for something good. Like, what do you stand for? And like Catherine, they have this. You could easily cut this out of the movie, but they cut to Catherine Zeta-Jones turning around and like really evaluating like why she's with
oh
Xander
yeah, yeah,
Drax
yeah.
and like what am I doing with my life
Hmm.
and I can't help but wonder if beside because it should just be what Diana says to her gets through, but I can't help but also but wonder. But she's like, well, I'm into the Phantom, and he is not into me, and he's into that. Well, she seems to have her head screwed on straight and is questioning all of my choice. Maybe I should fucking take a cue from
Maybe I
her.
should be a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's that moment where she's like, yeah. Yeah. It's you see her. Maybe I should be good, and maybe I should stop my thieving ways. Like, but it's just natural. It feels very not
Yeah.
forced. Yeah, it's super cool. It's it's
And,
it's
and,
like an old-fashioned comic book. Yeah.
and in a perfect world, the sequel, you bring her back and now she's a good guy.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
she's
yeah,
like an associate that when he's in New York or wherever, like she is like a liaison who helps him out and ends up going
absolutely.
on this
She's the pilot.
adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's the pilot or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I totally could see that. And I could see, the two females teaming up to save the Phantom. Like that is a movie.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
that's
your
totally
big
a
act
movie.
three. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, your big act
Oh,
three is them saving him.
and you do the callback in the second one where she tells him like this is supposed to be a rescue. Like
It writes itself. That's yeah, it's just I wish it had been a hit because it's a great movie. It's especially for comic book fans. If you like old-fashioned straight up comic book adventures, it's a radio show 1940s. Uh it's exactly right. It's exactly right.
yeah, it's I almost said perfect. It kind of is. Yeah.
For what it is, if you say for a 1940s, pulp 1920s pulp superhero movie, it's exactly right.
It
It's
really is.
perfect for that. It's exactly that. If you like that, if you want to see that, This is the movie.
If you want to see a dude swing on a rope onto like a pirate ship and fight a dude with a sword, and his pirate, literally one of his pirates is a fucking dude with a
Hmm.
bandana and a red and white striped pirate shirt.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, they're
Like he's a
pirates.
pirate.
Yeah, these are
One of the other
pirates. Yeah.
pirates has a curly like Captain Hook wig. Like
Hmm. They are pirates. And then you got Shang Tsung, who is that awesome, badass, sleeveless, means fire the cannon. It's just so, yeah, man. It's right. And you got gangsters, that turn of the century, you got gangsters, and then you have old-fashioned pirates who still have not caught up to automobiles and stuff. They're living in caves and thieving. It's almost like time travel almost, but it's a perfect for that time frame is that turn of the century where it just really all works.
yeah, the one like, and you've got exotic locales and stunts, and but like the one thing that it's missing, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's this close to when he gets on the fucking pontoon the second time, like they're this close to just cutting to a map and like the little dotted line going. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's so that vibe.
It's funny because the way it's done, it almost feels like, and it's clearly wrong because it's almost 20 years after, but it feels like somebody watched this and said, that's what we're going to do for Indiana Jones. Like
Right.
it's such a well crafted, well done, you know, where they really got everything right that it almost feels like it's so done correctly that they must have based that on this. In 100 years, and you watch that and something else next to each other, you may go, which one came first?
Right.
Because it's so done right.
Absolutely. It's so good that it's not when you rewind because you want to watch a cool thing. It's usually I want to see that line or I want to see that explosion or that fight scene. When he just jumps over that log on the horse for the first time,
It's so great.
I just rewound it because I just thought it looked cool. I want to see it again because his posture and the horse leaping is just
When he rolls out of that elevator shaft and puts his gun to this, I'm sorry, that is just it. That's the one I always have to rewind that and rewatch it because him just it's so
it's it's the
badass.
crouch after the roll where he still
Oh yeah, and he goes
takes a few
shoo, and
steps.
he's running. He just rolls in his running, and it's so badass. And then he's a good gentleman, and she drops her purse and he picks it up for the old lady. He doesn't stop. It's not multiple shots. It's the same shot, and then he runs outside. It's just so well done and done correctly. It
Yeah.
it's on the level, and they do a little bit more um difficult stuff because the Rocketeer is very in rooms and very close up, and there's not a lot of wide stuff. Even though they did the balloon at the end, everything, there's not as much. And Rocketeer does great. There's so much more like the universe, the cars, the people, the ambiance, kind of the world building. It's so broad and shows everywhere. And then on top of it, like in the Rocketeer, the best one of my favorite lines, and I think of it all the time, is like, you know, um, do you love her? I love her. She's one in a million, PD. And he goes, does she know that? She's about to find out. Like it's so earnest. She's one in a million, PD. I gotta save her. It's just so earnest. And I feel like this movie even does it better. It pushes it even a little bit further to where uh the Phantom's a good kid. That's a good boy. That's a good guy. That's a good guy. We need to take care of that guy. He's a good boy. I love that. You know, yeah, it's Truman. It's Truman from the Truman Show without all that.
It's
It's a genuine.
the Rocketeer is also earnest, but this movie's a little bit cheesier
Mhm.
while still maintaining a level of earnestness, and that's the slight difference. But fuck, dude, I love the Rocketeer.
Yeah, I love the Rocketeer. Dude, I remember. Yeah, I love the Rocketeer.
It's and one of my favorite deliveries, favorite lines, and again, it's a completely different character, but it's how they is when Paul Sorvino finds out that like, wait, you're a
Go
fucking
get him,
Nazi.
kid.
No,
Oh
but
yeah,
before that, when he finds out he's like,
I'm
hey, like,
100% American.
yeah, I may be like a criminal, but I'm 100% American.
I may not earn, and the pinky's out. I may not earn an
An
honest
honest
buck,
living. Yeah, yeah.
but I'm 100% American. Yeah, that's like, yeah, it's excellent. Well, and I love that. And I love after that when the FBI and the gangsters, blah 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 at the
Oh, and they look at each
Nazis.
other and
and then when he go get him, kid. Like that is
Ugh,
so right. That's so right. And
the
this movie
the
does also a lot of
spotlight,
that.
and he turns his, turns the head with the.
Yeah,
I
that's
get goosebumps every
this.
time.
Yeah, oh yeah, so good, so good. And
Well,
and that's what's funny is that this movie, The Phantom, has so much of that in it. Has
oh
more
yeah,
of it than even The Rocketeer has.
I get
Like,
goosebumps with him riding the horse, jumping over the log. Just that he's already jumped on the horse, but then we've got that shot of the plane and fucking Diana's stunt double with her fucking
mhm.
arm out and her hair's all
Oh
blowing.
yeah, and they're doing the yeah, yeah,
Oh, anytime they cut to someone hanging off the pontoon to drop on the horse, I love it.
yeah, yeah. It's great,
Full
man.
fucking movie.
It's a great movie. Like, and
Well,
there's so many just great elements at every level: costuming, makeup, character, acting, writing, action, uh, location, cinematography, music. Everything really, really works on this movie.
it's a shame it bombed because everything you just said, like it's all operating, right? Like
Yeah,
all the attention was paid. Producers made sure you got everything.
I
And
think it was too good to be
all that,
appreciated
yeah,
at the time.
what a shame.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's one
It's
of those
it's because
great
that
movies.
fucking poster just said "Slam Evil" and people are like, "What's that?" I'm not going to see that.
Slam Evil.
Slam
What the,
Evil.
I remember when I saw it, the first time I saw it was in a comic book, and I was like, that looks fucking stupid. That's the worst way. Hopefully they don't make a big deal out of it. And then I remember seeing the billboards when I was in
Yeah,
high school going, oh, no one's gonna go see it. Oh.
yeah. That poster feels like having your grandma plan your sweet 16 party. Like,
Yeah, that's the invite.
yeah, this is someone who's never read the Phantom's like, well, I don't know.
I
The
don't even know what
kids,
the Phantom is. That the guy who sings with the half thing. Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I fucking love it though. So
It's a great movie.
before this becomes a Rocketeer discussion, I'm gonna call it. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me to listen to my nonsensical perspectives on stuff and great movies that are unappreciated.
It's always fun to hear
Ditto,
your
ditto.
nonsense. Yeah, yeah,
Well, ditto and ditto and ditto, as always.
yeah. Oh, ditto, like Ghost. Yeah.
That's right. The Ghost Who Walks.
Ah,
See it
ah,
all.
synergy. All right. Until next time. Bye.